When I tell you, I started Trustpilot with a 1.2 star review rating and I hadn't shipped out. It hadn't even been in business for 3 days.
Yeah. Personal branding is not just about attracting the right audience, it's about actively deterring the wrong people at the same time.
Yes. I feel like every time I listen to you, it costs me money in the best way. Every time we talk, there's like, it's gonna cost me money, but it always makes my life better.
How many employees you got right now?
450.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We got a banger of a video for you here today. We got Colin. Colin's the highest grossing Inner Circle member that we've got currently. 9 figures on an annual basis. Won't be too specific beyond that. Colin here wants to launch his personal brand successfully and position it over a long-term period of time. On my end, the exchange that we're gonna have here today is helping him walk away with a scaling plan to execute on a long-term personal branding initiative. On his end, we're gonna get Colin in a position where he shares with us some of the value of scaling up to the 9-figure threshold. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. On the personal branding side of things, the number one thing you gotta initially consider is who specifically you're gonna talk to and what you're gonna talk to them about, because that determines what we show people and what we don't show people.
Yeah.
As an example, in my line of work, I help people crack the first million a month and then the next million a month. So I never talk to people that are at an entry level. If I get comments from, let's use the example, somebody that says, hey, Jeremy, can you show me this random problem? And I can tell clear as day that that problem and content topic would be geared towards somebody that makes like tens of thousands a month.
Yeah.
I would actively deter against that topic at all costs.
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of who specifically you're thinking you want to talk to over a broad period of time?
Yeah, probably, I probably want to talk to other owners and operators that are in a hyper scaling their company, right? Because that's where a lot of my experience has been, whether it be on the agency side and growing companies really fast, or building my own brands, in which you go from like a 0 to 9-figure revenue target over the course of
Now that
11
one
to 12
thing is a
months.
perfect example. 0 to 9 figures is insane as a
Yeah.
premise, right?
Yeah.
Realistically, you're never going to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
That's zero.
Yeah,
Right? Who
that's a good
would you realistically talk to? Like consider this, right? I try to never talk to people below 100K a month.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Yeah.
And there's a substantial difference in the problems and topics and things that I could discuss.
Yes.
That very clearly would only appeal to people above a certain threshold. I'll give you a perfect example. How many employees you got right now?
450.
Think about this as the number one talking point as an example, right?
Yeah.
How many employees does a business have when they hit 8 figures on average? So as soon as somebody crosses 10 million, what do you think they have in terms of staff?
It depends on the kind of business, but I would say probably between like 10 and 15 people,
So
maybe.
assumptively, we would never use the examples of talking to people who are below a certain staff threshold.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
like when we talk about the who, we would never say things like 0 to 9 figures.
Right.
We'd say like, what's the minimum of the revenue threshold you want to talk to?
Got it. Yeah, I would probably say, I'd say at least 3 to 4 million a month, would be the area that I think I could provide the most value.
3 to 4 mil a month. And I got to tell you, that's an underserviced pocket.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah. 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 Because you're in a unique stage. Like you've grown past what I call like the business phase, which is where you're like, you've got a viable business, right? And then the third phase after that is your organizational phase, where you build your organizational charts, your team gets deep, you get layers upon layers of your team. So like a $10 million organizational chart is kind of shallow, right? It's not that big. You got the CEO, you probably have some senior leaders, couple of, maybe a senior director or two and a couple of managers and some teams under that. But when you start to get to like 50 people, 60 people, that shit turns into a spider web. Yeah. And it actually becomes hard to create your organizational chart, or harder, because it's so deep. So like, I think that understanding how to do that properly, how to integrate leaders, because if you're growing fast and you're bringing in new leadership, you need to know how to do that right. Like change management. That's something I learned that not a lot of people understand until you get to that level. It's hard to change shit the bigger you get.
So remember, this is a cornerstone of your content.
Yeah.
For whatever you ever put out.
Yep.
is the who.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a perfect example. I'll tee you up with some examples of ideas that would make sense for that level. The person who's at 3 to 4 million a month is looking to hyperscale.
Yeah.
Right. Define where they're currently at
Mm-hmm.
and what realistically they're seeking next as an outcome. What does
Yeah.
that type of person care about in terms of outcomes?
So if you're looking to hyperscale, number one, clarity and organization, because it can get very messy very fast, right?
An example of what you're talking about, let me be clear. One time Dan Locke drew something
Yeah.
where he was describing his organizational structure, and he was like, look guys, this is me, the CEO.
Yep.
He had at the time, it was 5 different leaders.
Yep.
Okay. And across these different leaders, all these people were like the direct reports to Dan directly.
Yeah.
And beneath that was like 200 different staff.
Yeah.
And Dan visualized it where he was like, he literally had 200 of these little characters.
Yeah.
And he drew lines between every character and every other character, and every character to every manager, and every manager to every character, and
Wow.
every character to him. And he was like, look how fucking chaotic
Yeah,
and
yeah,
insane
yep,
this would
yep.
be. And then he goes, this is how it actually is. And then he cuts to this visual of the only people that could talk to him were the leaders in the management.
Yep.
And the only people that could talk to that specific leader were like the people within that specific department.
Yep.
And it cleaned up the image immediately, and it made it like a visual emphasis. You'd never talk to somebody below a threshold of, as an example, like 10 staff. The people that have more staff can relate to that specific
Yep.
lesson. Again, it's an exclusive thing specific to that. This visual, if you think about hyperscaling, remember, messaging best practices, problems, outcomes, and their current circumstances. You have a long-running list, I assume, of like content ideas you've probably been building.
Oh,
for a
yeah,
long
yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Are they built on the premise of this?
No.
Think about this when you look at that list on an ongoing basis. Which ones unknowingly, because this is the most important thing to understand about messaging, use the word sensitive anytime you're talking about messaging. Somebody had gotten up at one of those masterminds you come to. There's a guy named Mason. He's getting $1 million a month trophy. And Mason had said in his process of advertising for the first time, he had taught a copywriting course specifically. And he said he was trying to demonstrate in his ad that you could work for a business, use these AI tools, and have the power of famous authors like J.K. Rowling. Every person who came through the ad was a wannabe author.
Got it.
Specific, sensitive word he used.
Yes.
His 2 words, author and J.K. Rowling. So remember, anytime you're thinking about the who and you look at that list, you should exclusively think with, does this talk to the problems, the circumstances, and the desired outcome of my people exclusively? And if you ever make anything for anybody else, you'll attract anybody else.
Got it.
And then at scale, when you eventually go to transition into this for whatever you're going to end up doing, which we'll talk about here soon,
Yeah.
it's going to exclusively be this demographic of people that are the perfect person to sell whatever you want to sell them to.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be a bunch of the wrong people who
Right.
just paid a lot of attention to you up to that point, and you
Yeah.
realize it in that moment, and it'll be a catastrophic failure of all the positioning and planning you're about to execute on.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Let me give you a perfect example. Okay, so a guy who's at 3 to 4 million a month. What breaks between what got you to 5 million a month? That breaks on the way to 10 million a month.
Oof. There's a lot. So
Name something very specific that you think they universally will deal with. Try to think of
change
the
management.
most common.
Change management.
Describe that one.
So change management is something I learned was a problem through that period. Is essentially that you'll, as a business owner, you will start to get to a point where you start thinking kind of how you, especially if you've done it from scratch, right? From zero, or from, you've built the business, say you're the founder, the CEO. You are accustomed to pivoting quickly early on, being able to move and do things at a very fast speed when you're smaller, right? And then you grow, and then it gets a little difficult, but you can still make those changes, right? When shit hits the fan is when you start to take that logic into a slower moving boat. You're no longer a speedboat. You're like you're like a really big yacht, like a really big yacht. You can't turn as fast as you want, and you can't just say, "Oh, I want to do this idea." It'll be simple. It'll be easy. That's a big thing. Is like there's a big difference between simple and easy. People confuse the two. So, oh, let's do this, let's do that, and then you realize that change that you just made screwed everything up, because you have mass adoption issues within your team, because now you have layers of team that have to be delegated this process. They already have an existing process that they've been using that you built originally. Now you're changing it, and that change management trickles down through each layer of your organization, and it ends up making shit a mess. And I had to learn that because I am like an idea guy, big picture.
Now watch this, go deeper.
Yeah.
The very specific story that fucked you in that example.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I could talk about it.
Tell it from the perspective of through your eyes in the exact moment where you realize, like the realization moment, like the aha moment or the epiphany moment of the lesson.
So there was an instance, I'll tell you what, we actually avoided it because of my business partner. But this is the lesson where I said, damn, you're right, okay? So basically, long story short, whenever we send, I'm in the telehealth space for people who don't know, people receive their prescriptions, right? I'm a nerd when it comes to embedding myself in what customers want, right? I keep a very close pulse on all channels, as close as possible. Anyway, there were people that were consistently complaining about the way we were creating our scripts and stuff like that. And so I go to my business partner who oversees the pharmacy, and I'm like, hey, dude, like we've got this thing, and I put together this whole pitch for him, and I'm telling him we'll do it like this, we'll do it that way, we'll do it, we'll do all these things. And then he basically says to me, he's like, well, here's what's going to happen. The second we do that, the pharmacy at the team that he oversees, they're going to have to basically change the process. And what would have happened was everybody's script was coming in 3 different bags. And I was trying to consolidate it. But then I didn't realize at the time that if we did that, the information that was presented to the consumer wouldn't have been as clear. All their medication would have been in one bag. And that has a trickling effect on customer service. It has a trickling effect on the pharmacy team. It has a trickling effect on our social pulse team, on our community. Like, I would have obliterated everybody's life with this one singular idea, which to me was, on its surface, was a great idea. And then I talked to my business partner. I'm like, dude, this is how it would work. And he's like, let me show you how it's really going to work when you do this. And then he started to point things out on his end. And then I kind of started thinking from his lens, and I'm like, shit, you're right. This is going to actually trickle all the way back to our paid advertising. Like, it's going to just, everything's going to, paid CAC is going to go up because people are going to be upset when you're doing the level of volume, sales, right? You can't make adjustments. I'll give you another one. Changing ad creative, something that's changing the way that you do creative quality control process. We had an ad that went out because we made a change on our quality control process that we thought was a good idea. And we had a bunch of ads that went out with the wrong price point on the ads. And it just created a mess because people started calling about customers like, hey, I saw the price for XYZ and it's not on the page. Now my customer service team has to deal with it, making changes in the app. Any big change you make has ramifications. And when I was smaller, and in all the business that I had ran up until this point, I've always been in the 7 or 8 figure range. So the impact of change wasn't as bad. When you've got a national brand, like, people know when you make changes. I have another brand that we own, another telehealth brand, and we might sometimes put stuff up on that site before we put it on our main brand, the brand that everybody knows. And people say, oh, so-and-so, they already put it up on Hello Wellness. I'm like, dude, how did they we just put it up 30 minutes ago. How do they know that it's up already? So change management, understanding the impact that it has across your organization is like, everybody sleeps on it because they don't really know it until you go through it.
So change management to you is essentially the representation of like a small action that's no longer considered small. It's like everything's amplified and giant now, even if it's historically the smallest thing.
It seems small in your head, and you don't realize how big of an amplification it's going to have to your consumers, to your team. Like I said, that pharmacy example, I don't want to get too deep into like pharmacy process. It would just bore everybody. But that idea or that thought process that I had, it would have literally wreaked havoc. But it was not a big change. It was like relative to what is simple. It's a simple, easy change. But that would have just, at scale, if it would have been maybe a couple of people here and there, they can adapt, blah, blah, blah. At scale, thousands of orders a day. That'll ruin people's entire flow. And then it's like a train of car, or a car of train cars, like all just stacking up, and like a blockade comes, and then they just all, and you have an accident on your hands.
Yeah, so you could so as an example, do the people who make $3 to $4 million a month, when you call it change management as a vocabulary term, would that be a word that they already identify with and know? Or would it be better articulating the idea, like, I think of the words domino effect for that one.
Okay.
I think of maybe you could call it like the magnification effect, where everything that's historically been small is now substantially larger than it's ever been. Anyway, the moral of the story is this concept is like the packaging of these lessons. And what I'm attempting to get you to do is I'm attempting to get you to be aware of, when you think of the who and you just prompt yourself with the right questions, all the ideas for the content will become obvious. You then do exactly what we're doing here, and you kind of shoot the shit on him and go back and forth on what the specific idea you could talk about is. And then you think of, would the people that I'm actually trying to present this idea to know
Mm,
the words that I'm
right,
using
right,
so they
right.
know that it's for them? Does
Yes.
that make sense? Like
Yeah.
if I introduced that video by saying, let me give you a perfect example. Just answer this as short as possible. How many orders per day do you think you were at when you came across that problem?
Uh, over 1,500.
So as a perfect example, right? Immediately deters everybody that's below that threshold by a lot. You're
Yeah.
far too away now from like a regular business person. And now you're obviously only talking to people that are above a certain revenue threshold
Yeah.
that would identify that like that type of content's good. So you could say, when I got to 1,500 orders a day, I almost ruined everything
Oh,
with this
wow.
one choice. I found out what's called the magnification effect.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then you tell that exact same story. So the hook of that whole story then becomes hyper valuable for the specific target. And then we always have to find something that we ideally get people to walk away with as like an aha moment in the video. Like
Yeah.
they need to have the same aha moments or epiphanies, especially through storytelling.
Yeah.
That's where either visuals come in handy or demonstration content.
Mm,
So let's understand how comfortable you are with actually documenting all of this. Because to be clear for everybody who doesn't understand, like he's still balls deep in this business
yeah.
right now. Like
Yeah. Heavy.
you're not like
No,
beyond
no,
it
I'm
and you're
super
trying
in
to
it.
exit
Yeah.
from this thing. Like you're in a position where like you're balls deep in this.
Yep.
So would you, in that example, have, let's say that you already knew all this stuff ahead of time, would you have the ability to even document that?
Um, I probably could have recorded the conversation between me and my business partner. It was a great call. I learned a lot and that's where it sticks out to me like a sore thumb. Like, damn, dude, I gotta be mindful of decision making.
Have you ever seen one of those TV shows where it goes, it's like the start of the TV show is like the person sitting down talking and it's like an interview of the person and then it cuts in footage to like the actual thing happening and they're talking about it. This would be the equivalent of, let's say, we're talking about Tom Brady as an
Yeah,
example.
yeah.
Like Tom Brady sits down and he talks about a famous game that he's historically played in, and the video starts with him saying like,
Uh,
man, I remember when we were at that,
mm-hmm.
we were fucked, like it was this quarter and we were
Yeah.
this deep, and then it cuts to the
To the
footage
yes.
and then it cuts back to Tom sitting there, right? Like that type of
Damn.
content
Yeah.
would be unbelievable
Yes.
for two types of things. Number one, it's demonstration content. Also turns the whole thing that you're doing for this positioning effect into a very high entertainment value, almost like show
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more, now let me be really clear, the more of the actual thing content that you can document, the better. And you always remember this, you control this.
Yeah.
You get to control what gets released and what doesn't.
Yes.
So the more that you actually successfully document, the better off you are for being able to storytell at a later time.
Damn, that's great. I love that.
As an example, in the NBA, they film all their practices. Have you ever seen the video of Draymond Green on the Warriors punching Jordan Poole? Have you ever seen
Yes,
that video?
yes, I have. Yeah, that made it onto like social media and stuff, I think.
How do you think we saw that video?
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's like, now imagine just the story
Yes.
of, I can think of the exact footage in my head when I sit there and say it because we've seen it.
Yes.
Versus imagine us just hearing this story of Draymond punching Jordan Poole. It likely
Damn.
didn't stick in our mind nearly as much as the actual demonstration content. But like one day when those people are retired,
And they
like,
talk about it and then they go to the clip.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, I
everybody
know.
remembers the things that they actually see people doing, and the demonstration content is always far more valuable in almost all instances than just the like talking in hindsight content. So when we look at the actual thing content and like all your content moving forward for how you can document this, the most insignificant, totally normal things to you are aspirational, very well received, and sought out by the people that you're eventually going to try to sell to or that you're trying to accumulate in your audience.
Right.
And because you're further along than everybody else, nobody really understands that it's normal. As an example, I was in Ohio.
Yeah.
And I had regular parents. I had a babysitter for a mother, and my father was a factory worker.
Yeah.
Like, I always thought that you had to clean your house.
Mhm.
I'll never forget the first time I saw somebody with maids.
Yeah.
Changed my whole life.
Yeah.
I had a mentor one time through watching him. He had one day a week where he would never do calls. And every other day of the week, I saw him just on calls all the time.
Yeah.
I remember on one of those particular days where he wasn't on calls, I asked him, I was like, bro, do you just not get phone calls on this day? Like, what's going on? He goes, nah, man, I never do calls on this day. This is my work day. This is going, and it did change my life.
Yeah.
I have 2 days now where I never take a
Tuesday
call.
and Wednesday.
I exclusively work. I
Yep.
don't do anything else.
Yeah.
It changed my life forever.
Yeah.
Right? There are so many things that you've normalized in your routine that you do
Damn.
with 450 plus staff with like 9-figure run rate business,
Yeah.
that everybody would love to see. And you remember, if you constantly think of the who, and you're thinking with, all right, these guys that do at least 3 to 4 million bucks a month, if not more than that, that are looking specifically to hyperscale, what have I normalized that they need to know from me?
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you look back at that list and you build the list on an ongoing basis of all these different content ideas,
Yeah.
those should be the things that are top of mind. And you should always have a camera dude following you around at this point,
Yeah.
like all the time. Because think about it, where do your calls, like where do the key moments actually happen?
In my office, pretty much.
Are they highly probable to consistently be in the same place all the time where the camera guy only needs to be there?
Yeah, for the most part.
Anywhere else in terms of randomness where a key moment could occur?
Maybe in my car, maybe at a cafe. I work, you know, I work from my home office a lot, but
Yeah.
I travel. I take calls because you know, I'm a dad. So like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm taking calls in the car. You know, if I take my son to PT, I'm, you know, physical therapy, I'm, you know, on a call.
This highlights a good thing, which is, okay, I'm going to tell you a quick story. One time I was in Beverly Hills. I was with Ty Lopez. I was out in LA and
Yeah.
we were coordinating doing a launch on a new product that he had. And Ty has one of his kids there, is his son. And he's like, I got to take the kid to fighting class real quick. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, sure. And we just go outside. We jump in one of his random cars. We go like a couple blocks down the road to downtown Beverly Hills, jump out of the car, like take the kid into the karate class or whatever fucking fighting class it was. And now here's the scene. Ty and I are in the second floor of this super hot, ran by the Gracie family, fighting studio,
Yeah.
like dojo.
Uh-huh.
It's hot as fuck. Like we're both like kind of sweating a little
Yeah.
bit. We're both like pacing around this like tiny little area where, you know, there's kids that are coming in and out of this class, and then like there's like fighting sounds in the background.
Yeah.
And we're talking about launching with a challenge funnel, and it's like, no joke, probably an hour and a half long,
Yeah.
just yap session where we're going back and forth. And we didn't have a camera guy with us. So we didn't get to capture this super unique moment that was awesome and
Yeah.
would have been one of the greater pieces of content, of like demonstration content,
Yes.
of like coordinating how this launch would work and like what it would look like. Because neither one of us thought that that would be a moment
Yeah.
that would otherwise be worth capturing.
Right.
Both of us thought, like, we had in that specific house he had out in Beverly Hills, I don't even know how many total people in that house. It was
Yeah.
like an office for him. It wasn't even like a house. It was
Yeah.
like staff everywhere. There's definitely camera guys and so much camera equipment.
Yeah.
Could have easily just been like, yo, can one of
Come
you
on,
tag
yeah.
along? And neither one of us thought about it. And really think about that. Dude, that's Ty Lopez we're talking about, who's arguably one of the best people in personal branding
Yeah.
in terms of dollars generated that exist.
For sure.
But still, even us, we made a mistake of thinking like that wasn't going to be a key moment. The people who really get it, they have somebody who they're super cool with, who they trust the utmost, who like literally could be around their children, who you aren't like concerned about, that's going to film like every moment possible.
Yeah.
And then you ultimately get to decide which moments at a later time are the ones that get shared and which ones don't. You have to get comfortable with the idea that someone's just going to be following you around with a camera all the time.
Yep.
You have to get comfortable with the idea that there's like random people that are going to be like, the fuck's this guy doing?
Yeah.
You know, like you're at times going to potentially feel uncomfortable by it, or at the very least, like intruded upon. And if you can successfully overcome that one hump that I'm describing, you will have so much of the actual thing content that you will get to make some of the best entrepreneurial personal brand content that's
Damn.
ever existed.
Yeah.
But if you overcome that hump later, after you've already started making content, you lose out on all of these hyper key moments that were when you actually did the thing.
Yeah.
That would have made the overall content that much more valuable at a later time. And you only get to talk about it in hindsight instead with none of the actual footage. Does that make sense?
Dude, 100%. And it makes it applicable because I'm doing it in the moment. Like I'm actually living it. I'm not, like you said, I'm not talking about it in a, like I do talking head videos right now, right? So I'm talking, and everything I talk about, I've learned through experience, right? Like I just put up a piece of content today. It's through real life experience.
Yeah.
But the premise of the content that I put out today, because I'm thinking about applying this, right, is the best way to find out if you have a good team is to leave them alone, right? Your A player, you leave them alone for a week. Your A players and B players, they're gonna give you a list of all the things they got done. And the people who, your C's and F players, they're gonna give you a list of excuses of all the reasons why they couldn't get shit done. It's how I figure out who's who on my team. I leave them alone. Dude, there's team members on my team, I shit you not. I can literally think of a specific instance where I didn't touch, she's my my community events manager. She puts on all of our one-on-one, our in-person events for our members, right? I trust her 110%. I didn't talk to her for like 2 months, dude, because we were getting ready to do an in-person event. I wasn't even worried that the event was, I knew the event would be world class. Point is, I had a conversation with her when we were like walking through one of the events because I met her at the event. And she was like, "Oh, I thought you were like kind of pissed at me or something because I haven't heard from you in like 2 months." And I was like, "Oh, I just trust you." But I'm thinking about like the content
Give me
behind
that
that.
one moment
That
being
that's what
captured.
that's what I'm saying. And I could have like I'm thinking of the cutting to the
Video
scene.
starts by you talking about that, literally cuts to that exact example, goes back to articulate the
And
point
we
further.
had cameras there. We
Yeah,
had
dude.
cameras there at the event. I mean, there was literally cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a camera on me. And
Yeah.
and I literally was like, I knew you were gonna kill this. Like,
Yeah.
and so I'm thinking of the little micro moments that I don't think they're significant when I'm just walking and going through the event and talking to her casually. But if I had a microphone on me, I don't even realize how pertinent, because I'm thinking of that content that I just posted today.
Yeah.
And I could have easily just done a little clip over from the event, and
Would have ripped.
it would have crushed. It
Ripped
would have
for sure.
crushed.
I gave you an example prior to this when we were just talking off camera, and I was saying I had this mentor, his name's Judge,
Yeah.
and he had 1,000+ staff. He sold 2 agencies for
Yeah.
mid 8 figures and low 9 figures. And he always would talk about culture, as almost everybody who makes like a serious amount of money always talks
Yep.
about.
Yep.
Think about the amount of videos you've seen real quick that come to mind where you've heard people talk about culture
For
and
sure.
like what it means. Now think exclusively about those same pieces of content that have actually demonstrated it.
Dude, and you know what's crazy
Can you think of
is
any?
no, I can't. And
That's
and
what I mean.
you know
That's
what's
a
funny is
differentiator.
what's hilarious is thinking with this lens on now, I'm thinking like as we're talking, I'm thinking about all the opportunities I've missed for this. Cause like for example, last week I brought all my leadership team here to Miami.
How
Flew
many
everybody in.
people's that?
I think for this one, it was 17, so 18 or 19 people. This is our senior leadership,
Yeah.
right? So, dude, we did a whole bunch of team bonding stuff. Like we did like some very vulnerable, everybody sitting in a circle. Guy got choked up talking. Like there was like grade A quality content about.
And you would have filmed that comfortably, to be clear.
For sure, yeah. Because it was a good, it was an important. It was I wasn't even to be honest with you, I wasn't even expecting it. I was my our chief people officer, her name's Kendra, she brought these like cards, like CEO cards, and they're like basically everybody shared them, but they're these like thought-provoking questions. Like if you could speak to one person that's passed, who would it be and what would you say to them? And mine was about my childhood. And I was just like, I was reading the card and all the thoughts of my head of my childhood like just hit me out of the blue and I got really choked up. And I would have filmed, for sure I would have, because it's part of my story. But then, dude, we went on. I took them all. Our team, we all went out on 2 yachts. Tied 2 yachts. Everybody's riding jet skis, and we're all talking. And the next day, we had like
Would've
the
been
board.
sick.
Dude, I'm literally like, and the purpose of that, it wasn't just like the work wasn't paper or computer. The work was bonding, because I always say companies of our size, they tend to erode from the inside out, right?
Yeah.
When you have a strong total addressable market, you got good product market fit, you're probably not gonna die because of what's happening on the outside. You're gonna die with bad leadership dynamics, all that stuff. So yeah, I'm literally thinking like, shit, dude, I should have had somebody following me that whole entire 3-day. I mean, I could have had a drone flying on the thing and then cutting to me. I'm literally thinking of all the things you are
Also,
saying.
think about how easy it is to justify the cost of this.
Totally. No, it's
like,
it's very
that's the best
reasonable.
position to be in when you're in a position like yours. Like you've already got a cash cow that's
Yep.
printing money.
Yeah.
This allows you to do long-term positioning content
Yeah.
well before you ever see somebody actually need to sell something. A great example of this, you're obviously familiar with Hormozi, I assume.
Yeah, of course.
How long did Hormozi say he had nothing to sell people?
I'd say at least a year and a half, probably 2 years.
In hindsight, it's like, obviously the guy was going to sell something.
Yeah.
It's like anybody who knew
Yeah.
anything about how all this
Yep.
works is like,
Yep.
well, obviously the guy's going to sell something. It's more a question of when.
Sure.
But him consistently saying like, I've got nothing to sell you guys, it diffuses the defense mechanism. But really think about all of Hormozi's content while he's also saying that. None of it was demonstration content.
Yep. It was all
All
talking
of it was
heads.
essentially just talking head
Yep.
content while he's saying like, hey, I've got nothing to sell to you. Hormozi's entire backstory, to my understanding, is that he sold Gym Launch for like 40-something million bucks.
Yep.
And again, he just gets to talk about it in hindsight. Dude, really think about this. Do you know how much Hormozi generated off that one event where he finally started to sell something other than just a low ticket book? Do you remember the cash?
Was it the first one or the second? Because he did
Here's the
two
second one.
launches.
Yeah, the first one he just sold a book.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the
I
second
was on
one-
it. Yeah, I
the
was on.
second one is when he actually made like serious
It
cash.
was crazy. What was the number?
Supposedly he had done, I know it was more than $100 million. I don't know the
Wow.
exact number. I don't want
Wow.
to get fact checked, but again, it was a ridiculous.
I heard it
amount,
was
like,
stupid. It was a
more
stupid
than
number.
100 million in like actual cash collected dollars.
I
okay?
knew.
From saying he doesn't sell anything.
I know.
To one event generating more than $100 million with no demonstration content.
Crazy.
Colin, to really help you understand the severity of what you're dealing with here,
Yeah.
if you specifically have demonstration content and you do what we're talking about,
Yeah.
that's like the level of revenue potential that exists
Yes.
from documenting this immediately.
Yes.
Like, not like a delay.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Go home and hire somebody that you feel
You know I
comfortable
listen
with
to you, bro.
straight
You know
away.
I listen to you.
I know.
I feel like every time
straight
I
away.
listen to you, it costs me money in the best way. Every time we talk, there's like, it's gonna cost me money, but it always makes my life better. So yeah.
No, this
Yeah.
would be insane. Because again, this is the important thing to consider, which is right now, okay, if you listen to what you're saying and you ever watch this back,
Yeah, I will.
right now the target market is, okay, I want to sell to people that do at least $3 to $4 million. And I want you to be really, really clear on why.
Yeah.
Okay? So as an example, I never, ever sell to poor people, ever.
Yeah.
I don't want to put people into financing.
Yeah.
I don't want to sell to people who like struggle to pay for whatever it is that they're buying. The types of people that I'm selling to as well, like just like literally what you just commented on and laughed about, I encourage people to spend money
Yeah.
after they actually buy my thing on something that's a risk, right?
Yep.
So they not only have to have money to buy my thing, they have to have money to do their thing after too.
Yep.
As a result of that, it's a definitive rule for me that defines like all of what I do and do not do. However, this is very important to understand this. The umbrella that we cast, as high as the umbrella goes, we cover everybody beneath it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking to people at this 3 to 4 mil a month level that are in a position where they want to hyperscale. You'll have a lot of people aspirationally watching
Nice.
that are otherwise never probable to buy like the main thing that you may eventually sell, but are highly aspirationally watching you sitting there saying like, man, if this guy ever came out with something that was for me, like,
Yes.
I'd buy the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And that could be something that's more like a charitable or like philanthropic version.
Yeah,
where
yeah.
You get to do something. Because here's the thing, like right now, all your bandwidth is essentially focused on this huge business you've got.
Yeah.
You're going to have so much time and attention one day available to you again,
Mhm.
you know, and at the end of the day, what you are going to want to do at that time, you may not even be tapped into yet or aware of. So
Yeah.
you want to give yourself the options. Just like simply put with the Hormozi story, that's essentially what he did.
Yeah.
He gave himself the option to be able to sell something at a high ticket level.
Yep.
He went through a period of time where he was clearly just like, I'm going to give away as much as I can,
Yeah,
like sell
yeah.
books to people and
Yep,
shit.
yep.
Then eventually he was like, all right, you know, I really want to crack this thing and
Mhm,
get
mhm.
seriously rich, you know,
Yep.
compared to what he was prior. This is important to understand about personal branding. To leave the option open is something most people simply don't consider. I constantly say out loud, I never want to sell to poor people. I never want to sell to this or that. It's a hard rule in
Mhm.
my brand
Yeah.
to where if I crossed it, it would cross a
Mhm.
value that I put on public display and
Sure.
stood on.
Yep.
So you want to be considerate of what specifically are you going to stand on?
Yeah.
Think about this. Does Hormozi ever get ridiculed for saying, I'm not going to sell anything to you, and then all of a sudden he made $100 million on one specific cash flow event?
No.
It's like, so what could you stand on that you're allowed to compromise in the eyes of the people who watch you?
Right.
Versus what are you going to stand on that's like a definitive rule of who for sure you never help,
Right.
right? And if
Right.
you really consider this ahead of time, when it goes back to this who lesson,
Yeah.
you'll constantly reiterate these things because personal branding is not just about attracting the right audience, it's about actively deterring the wrong people at the same time.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. For me, and that's, I guess, the balance that I'm trying to walk, because there's a part of me that right now, especially with filming content, like my genuine purpose for filming content, that's what you and I are talking about is who I ideally would like to attract to monetize my traffic, right? But like right now, let's say I had 5 people that saw a video and they said, "Hey man, I'd love to. I'm hyperscaling my company. I'd love to figure out how to go from 50 million a year to 100 million a year." I probably couldn't even do it right now because I'm so busy. You know, I have way more things to worry about. So for me, there's a part where I'm kind of just doing the content right now because I just want to help people, you know. And but I eventually I want to monetize
Yeah,
this,
of course.
right? Yeah, my brain is wired that way. So,
By
you
the way, the
know,
more you tell people in that example, it's called a stiff arm.
okay,
The more you're like, sorry, I don't have anything I can sell you right now. Like,
yeah,
I'm too busy running my main
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah,
The more demand you're actually going to create
yeah,
for something
right,
that will actually
right,
become eventually like
right,
worth enough
hmm
to
hmm
actually monetize,
hmm
put attention into.
yeah,
And the more that you actively do that, as you can see, like a dam just building up a big flow of cash in this case is going to release on you one day, the better off that cash event is actually going to be. So simply, here's the question. Should we go niche or should we go broad? So
yeah.
what Hormozi
That's the
chose to do
question.
is he
Yeah.
went to go broad.
Yes.
So if we go hyper niche here, it's like obviously we're going to be dealing with a really small TAM, talking exclusively to people that are at a couple $1 million a month, but they'll scale beyond that and doing it in a way where they're like hyper scaling, going really
Yes.
fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you exclusively talk to that demographic, remember, the aspirational viewer crowd will be smaller.
hmm
Okay. Hormozi talks broad enough where, and this is actually a really important thing to understand about personal branding at like true scale. Talk about relationships.
hmm
He'll talk about like the dynamic between his wife
Yeah.
and him.
hmm
He'll talk about like his views on all kinds of random shit that's like way beyond business.
Yeah.
Are you ever going to showcase that version of you where you put your actual opinions and values and beliefs out there?
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about like your family component, or do you want to
Yes.
keep it exclusively niched to just one very specific topic exclusively to only attract that crowd?
No, I'd like to be broad. I'd like to be broad enough that's why I want to combine the two. So it's like, because I think that there's a world in which, like you said, I have like let's say my lower ticket. Like, so one of the things I would really like to do is help. There's the, I want to call it the charitable part of me, but the part that like, I genuinely like helping people, like when people come up and they see the McLaren and they ask, oh, what do you do? I can never give them like a 10-second answer because I just want to give. I'm just like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I end up like, it's one of the reasons why I want to write a book, so I can just reach in my car and be like, here, just read this shit, and this will give you what you need, right? So for me, it's like there's that portion of me that really wants to just help people that want to get started. I have a similar take. I don't like to sell to people that don't have purchasing power, or that the purchasing power that I'm looking to command is not affordable. So if I'm going to sell you a $500 course that's extremely valuable, but you have no money, you don't understand that value is, to you, not going to make sense, right? I don't want to sell a $100 course for my information. I have great information. So, but there is a part of me that wants to help. Ideally, the reason why I choose the 8 to 9 figure business owner, they have strong purchasing power. I know their psychology. They're not looking for somebody to come in and fix their entire business. They need somebody who like gives them very good needle moving information, right? And there's a certain caliber of mindset that you need to have to understand that when you hire a certain kind of consultant. When I hire a consultant, like you and I were just joking that I'm probably like, and a lot of the guys that are in the higher revenue range, we're your lowest maintenance members, right?
Yeah,
It's not,
the richer people are, the more impactful each individual communication is.
when I need something from you, I call you real quick, or I jump on a call with you. We usually go less than the 30 minutes that you and I have on the calendar. So I know that kind of is where my head goes, because I know it's not easier. It's just easier to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the lower ticket side, it's like they don't have the purchasing power that I'd look for. It's kind of like harder to like give people value there.
This is easy. 2 channels.
Okay.
This is seriously, so on YouTube specifically,
Yeah.
an ideal scenario here is 2 separate channels.
Okay.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. So on my main channel, again, I'll never post shorts because I think only poor people watch shorts on YouTube.
Yep.
I only post long form videos like what this one is here as an example.
Yep.
The topics are always central to the person who's at least making a couple $100,000 a month, at a minimum 100K a month, or already $1 million a month plus and wants to hit the next $1 million a month.
Yeah.
The topics will never escape those themes on the main channel. However, I really love sharing mindset content.
Yeah.
So
you're great at
I
it.
found a multi-purposed angle to accomplish this without polluting the main channel's algorithmic distribution towards the right people.
Nice.
This specific content was really simple. It was Jeremy Haynes dash lessons for my kids. I sit down once a week, I film a video literally with a lesson for my children, and it is the best version of mindset content that I could distribute because it goes around the defensive mechanism of thinking I'm just sitting there yapping about mindset content. I'm literally sitting down talking to my children in the videos and I'm sharing lessons that are universally good for anybody at any revenue level to sit there and watch and say,
Wow.
there's a lot of value in that.
Where do you put, and where do you post it? It's on it.
Post on a second channel. So
Okay.
the second channel is literally called Jeremy Haynes Dash Lessons for My Kids.
And it's YouTube, on YouTube?
Correct. A separate YouTube channel.
Got it.
And I have a third YouTube channel called the Haynes Feed,
Uh-huh.
which is where we post shorts, which is where we post these like 2
Got
to 9 minute clips.
Yes.
So shorter form videos go exclusively onto that channel.
Got it.
Same topics, to be clear, but we use that as like a testing ground for higher frequency. The point I'm trying to make, when you're looking at what you just described, where you're technically going to monetize the 8 to 9 figure business owners, and you're also at the same time going to be willing to talk like broadly to almost any entrepreneur.
Yeah.
On IG, I think you can get away with that.
Yeah.
On Twitter, I think you can get away with that.
Yeah.
On YouTube, do not do the cross.
Got it.
Only have one theme
Yes.
per channel. So the distribution of that particular
I
channel
love that
consistently
idea.
reaches that type of person.
I think
Because these lessons are also wildly different, by the way. Like you
dude,
can't be
totally.
yapping about like a 452 staff business and like the lessons of it, and then think that like the broader entrepreneurs are going to be able to relate.
What do you this is epic, by the way. This is like super good, because now you're actually clearing up a lot of things I've been thinking about. So what if I did like my general population kind of like entrepreneurial, get things up and running. I do mindset stuff too, because you've actually brought a lot of mindset into my life. Like I used to make the joke, I don't need motivation, I need information.
Yeah.
When you get to a certain level and you realize that like predictable customer acquisition is not really a problem for you anymore, you need to have a good mindset, because you realize that's actually a limiting factor in growth.
For sure.
So I do a lot of mindset stuff too. So would it make sense to do like the general population, helping the things that I'm passionate about helping people with on Instagram, and maybe start my YouTube where it's like long form. I'm talking about change management at a very granular level and really going deep.
Now tie it all together, okay?
Yeah.
So if you have a guy following you around all day, you're naturally going to capture both.
Yep. True.
Because in your day, there's likely already a balance where, well, let me clarify that. There's likely a huge imbalance where a majority of your actual lessons are going to be documented for the very niche, like 8 to 9 figure business owner.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you can intentionally go out of your way to share something specific that's for any entrepreneur at any level. And they're going to get captured by the same person in the same day regardless.
Yep.
And the content after the fact, when it's officially, all right, what are we going to post and where are we going to post it?
Yep.
That's where that guy can say, this type of content's exclusive for this one channel, and this type of content's exclusive for this specific YouTube channel.
Got it.
On IG, again, they can both be cross-posted without issues. It's just on YouTube specifically that you would want to have, this channel is exclusive to this thing, and this channel is exclusive to this thing. And I don't think you're going to have to go out of your way much to go beyond it. Like as an example, remember how during Christmas of this last year, we had the toy drive here at the office that you came to, that helped us give away toys to the local community here in this neighborhood?
Yep.
That'd be an example of a video that you could showcase on like any entrepreneur channel. And at the same time, while you're here, there's plenty of other random people that are entrepreneurs at all different levels that are just here to help the kids and give away some toys. And, you know, one of those guys might see you and be like, oh, dude, that's Colin. Like, I watch your content.
Yeah.
He might come up to you and ask you a question about, you know, Colin, I'm only at 120K a month, man. I'm wondering what it took you to get to the first $1 million a month.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden your guy is capturing a specific moment that you would not post on the main channel, on the one specifically for the 8 to 9 figure business owner.
Yeah.
You'd exclusively be posting that on the Any Entrepreneur video.
Right.
Captured in the same day, in the same moment where maybe there's another Colin here at the facility who's also doing, you know, a lot. And you sit there and start chopping it up with him, and you guys are sharing like really high level lessons with.
And that goes to the
same place, same location, but just where you post is what's different in that
example. Got it. Yeah. No, I get it. I think I'm seeing because my next, after I was telling you that I always, the way I approach any task is I build one pyramid block at a time, right? So I look at the pyramid, what do I want to accomplish at the top? That's the end result. That's everything's built. And then I just start, it could be as simple as the first pyramid block is making a call to somebody, right? And I just start building one block at a time. So my first block was to just post consistently, right? Do that for 30 days. Just make sure I could do it, commit to it, make sure it doesn't interfere with my calendar, and make time for it, prioritize it so it doesn't become a problem in my calendar. The next thing would be like, all right, well, now I'm posting. Now what other channel could I start to expand to? So now it would probably be YouTube. YouTube was already what I had my eyes on because I believe in long form content. I'm good at talking. So, you know, I could probably fill that time very well. So what I'm thinking is I'll do kind of like I can still intertwine the Instagram content a little bit, but what you're saying, I would probably keep my YouTube channel to like my ideal customer, my ideal client, like that 8 to 9 figure business owner. All my long form content is going to be on that channel.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah, and then when
Yep.
you go out there and you make like collab content with people, as an example, like let's use a podcast that you go on.
Yep.
Based on whatever you talk about, depending on what level you end up discussing with this other individual,
Yep.
that determines you could be like, hey, add me as a collaborator on this channel versus
Yes.
this other one.
Yeah.
Everything starts to make a lot more sense when you like categorically are putting content into its right place,
I
understanding how the algorithm distributes this content.
yeah.
People, the right people, as an example, for the 8 to 9 figure business owners are exclusively consuming this content. This quote unquote main channel might get, just like my channel, like 1,000 to 10,000 views. Like if you got like 20,000 views, you're like, wow, that's a banger.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not going to be going after views.
Yeah.
You're going to be going after the right people. And the right people, by the way, let me tell you something that is hilarious. You'll never see them commenting. They'll DM you and they'll have like private conversation with you instead about the content they're actively putting out.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. All my public comments, if you go on my YouTube channel and look, are always like, in most instances, to be fair, because occasionally it is somebody higher level, are most of the time like the lower level, like Gen Pop or entrepreneur population, versus the people that are at the highest level that do like a couple $1,000,000 a month or a couple $100,000 a month, that are the right people watching it. They'll always have private conversations.
I DM that. That's how I started DMing you. I never comment.
exactly
I mean, every now and then I would comment on one of your posts, but I started DMing you.
Yeah, so like
when I wanted to work with you.
Your content, like you're not going to be able to judge it by comments.
Right.
Like you are realistically going to be able to judge it by shares.
Yeah.
You're realistically going to be able to judge it by likes, but like you're not going to be able to judge it by views. You're not going to be able to judge it by comments. You're actually going to see an inverse signal where if your content gets too much reach on the main channel for 8 to 9 figure business owners, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah, right. Because it's such a small total addressable market
That's
in the
exactly
first
right.
place,
That's
right?
exactly
Like
right.
I'm not going and you got to think if there's 500 views on a video of that, like where you're, that's actually, you put 500 people in this room that are doing
exactly
8 to 9 figures. That's,
Yeah.
you're going to clean up shop for,
exactly.
I get it. Yeah, that
Okay,
makes
so now we also have to consider long-term positioning. Like, what are we actually going to attempt to sell these people? Because we can start warming them up on the idea of what we eventually want to sell them on.
Yeah.
Even if they're completely unaware and oblivious to what we're eventually going to sell them on. So let me give you an example. You had mentioned a few times in this video that, you're a part of my group. You had mentioned you come to my events. These people watching this, they may have no idea what we're even talking about.
Yeah.
They may have no idea that I have a mastermind. They may have no idea of what Jeremy's Inner Circle even is.
Yep.
They may have never heard the product. They may have never seen it.
Yeah.
But all it takes is for us to, we don't even have to talk about my group or my consulting. All we have to talk about as a topic occasionally, if I eventually want to sell people on consulting, is how you and I work consulting into what we do in this content,
right,
to frame people that consulting is of high value to somebody like you or I. So if and when we go to sell it at a later time, it's a much higher probability that our audience is already very well framed on consulting as a topic. For
right, they understand the value of it.
That's exactly right. So as an example, let's say that eventually you wanted to sell consulting.
Yep.
I'm not exaggerating. Whether you intentionally did this, because I believe you're extremely smart. Maybe you did do this intentionally, but maybe not.
Yeah.
If you sat down today for this exact video to demonstrate that like you invest into people like me who help you as a consultant, you naturally are making your audience very aware that
you spend money on consulting.
You make more money than them realistically. And they'll start to think to themselves without you having to say a word, oh, I should value consulting more than I do regularly right now because Colin does. And then eventually when you go to sell consulting in this example, it'll be so well received. And to be clear, it's a very subconscious thing that occurs for this framing that we're sitting here talking about, but it's a mastery level personal tactic. If I wanted to sell a course one day as an example, I would routinely demonstrate in some of the content that I'm putting out. Let's use the example on the Any Entrepreneur channel. I'd put out, let's use the example, a course review video where just a fragment of what I'm talking about. Or if I'm going to sell a book one day, I'd do book reviews as an example, where I would just discuss like frequent lessons of, one thing that I did when I very first got started, I read so many books. I honestly don't know the amount of books I've read, but it's a lot. And naturally, out of my mouth all the time, I would just be like, oh, dude, this lesson from this book, and this lesson from this book, and this lesson from this book. And then all of a sudden I had a fuckload of people asking me like, hey man, like, when are you going to sell a book? And I'm like, why are you guys asking me for a book? Like, I don't intend on writing a book. I didn't even realize what I was doing.
You were framing about the importance of a book.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden, instead of wanting to buy like a course from me, or instead of wanting to buy this or that, they're wanting to buy a book because of how much I constantly yapped about books.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah, no, yeah, I 100% get
So
you.
now why?
You're framing, like you said, that you're literally framing the belief system, which
Yeah.
for me, one of the reasons why I also like, it's kind of funny you're saying this, and maybe it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was intentionally intentional, but I had, my thought process was there, was people at that revenue level understand the importance of consultants. Like you realize that consultants are actually sometimes better than masterminds, right? Because you're getting the information from the source very quickly. You just have to make sure you have a good consultant, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, I know that audience, they value consulting, not having like a fractional CEO, right? They're different because consulting to somebody at like 6 figures, 7 figures, you kind of become like a fractional CEO. It's too needy, you know, which I done. And that's why I didn't like consulting. But then I realized, like me, I hire a consultant. I might talk to you for an hour every quarter at most. I don't think I've talked to you on a call in 6 months, you know, but when I do call, I know what I'm looking for, you know?
When you document the things that you want people to eventually buy, that you specifically are consuming yourself, or that you even just reference, you're naturally framing them to have a higher probability to buy that thing from you in the future.
Yeah.
So do you have, I know it's a tough question to ask because I know you're really busy right now, but do you have any preference of vehicle for what you want to sell to people in the future? And I want to be really clear on how ridiculous this could be, just given the demographic that you're going to sell to. I have worked with 3 or 4, for sure 3 different major personal brands that have sold 15-minute increments of their time for $25,000. And so somebody will upfront pay $100,000 for 4 15-minute slots once a quarter. And the people who buy them are always hyper enthusiastic to buy them. Usually they last just a tad more than 15 minutes, to be fair. And simply put, the person is able to sell it at that level from how like in demand they are, or and obviously how limited their time is at that point from how much money they make elsewhere.
Yeah, like if you were to hire Grant Cardone, you're paying top dollar to get his time.
Perfect example of one that I'm thinking of. And here's the moral of the story. When somebody is going to sell something like that, what has to be extremely obvious is how busy they are, how rich they are, and the fact that they're in a sense too in demand for it to even make financial sense otherwise, to pay anything but like $100,000 for an hour worth of time spread out over a whole year.
Yeah, you're framing them.
Exactly.
You're framing them.
So as an example of that, like if you said, you know, Jeremy, I don't necessarily know what I want to sell yet, or like what capacity I want to help people, but what I know is I think it's one-on-one, or I think it's group. Like you could start there. If it was one-on-one as an example, you'd really want to start framing like, first of all, how rich you actually are. So people can see like, it's never going to make financial sense for you otherwise to do this if you don't pay such an extreme amount. That way, when that amount officially drops and the opportunity to buy it officially comes along, nobody's shocked. Because everybody's been watching your content and they say to themselves, makes sense. I mean, look at the guy. You know? And undeniably, that's true. Comparatively, like let's use the example, you wanted to do group coaching, but you didn't want to go above a certain threshold of like quantity of people in each group.
Yeah, you have like 5 people.
Same concept. You'd want to demonstrate to the people who may otherwise view that as like less valuable because there's 5 people instead of just one-on-one, that that's actually some of the most valuable groups that they've ever been a part of, because it's like a real mastermind in that example where other people's problems are intimately being shared and they get value from beyond themselves.
I love that.
As well.
And that's where I was thinking. I was thinking like a small group coaching.
Tiny group.
You know, I like people, so I you know, the one-on-one thing works, but you just brought up something that was kind of one of the good consequences of having group is you got other business owners and operators sharing information. So I could be the person who's giving information, but you've got, that was literally my thought process. Well, if I have a group of guys, you know, women, men, whatever, if I have a group of people that are working together, it's an intimate setting. It's a small mastermind in its own way, you know?
So your content in this case that you should consistently put on display would be people a part of your organization working together in tiny groups where you specifically are leading the tiny group or somebody within your organization is leading this tiny group. People within the tiny group are articulating what their specific needs and problems are, and everybody else in the group is getting to share in real time that what somebody else thought or asked added value to them
Yeah.
beyond what they thought they needed to know themselves.
Yep.
And you would do the same type of content that I was talking about,
Yep.
where instead of just you sitting down and having the interviews in this case of like talking like, hey, have you ever seen I've never actually watched this to be clear, but I've seen clips of it. So I imagine you might have as well. There's a Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix where in that specific documentary, it's a bunch of people who played with Michael Jordan. And it's a bunch of people who knew
Yeah, The
Michael
Last
Jordan.
Dance, I think, is what it is.
I think so. In this specific documentary, it's not just Michael Jordan, it's like a whole bunch of other players and a whole bunch of other people that knew him that are actively giving their take on Michael, and then also clips and then back to the interviews and then clips and then back. This exact concept would be a banger piece of content for you, where like, as an example, the topic is, this is the major problem that somebody who makes $3 to $4 million a month would also likely be dealing with, if not greater than that. And you're putting the problem on display first. And you're, just like we talked about prior, like this is the specific issue that only people at a higher level are going to care about. These are the characters involved in this specific problem-solving scenario that we're attempting to work through this with.
Yep.
And you intimately put this small group of however many people you eventually want to put into each cohort that you're going to monetize.
Yep.
And you just put it on display.
Yep.
And that becomes what's called a cornerstone piece of content. It doesn't have to be every piece of content.
Yeah.
But if that's what you're eventually going to monetize with, it should at least be done. As an example, if you're going to post twice a week or 3 times a week, like a once a week piece of content.
Yes.
Or once every other week piece of content.
Framing. Back to framing again.
I do this thing on my channel. It's we call them these business breakdowns. We're considering renaming it to the scale room to give it like an official title. But right now it's kind of like this, or like we sit down with somebody, we usually go through like all the intimate details of their business, like what they gross, what they net, like how they're acquiring customers, what their offer details are. And we try to come up with a scaling plan for the individual. Well, why do I consistently spam that piece of content like once or twice a week?
Yep.
Is because, well, that's what I do inside of Jeremy's Inner Circle. A component of Jeremy's Inner Circle is one-on-one calls.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, because I'm selling people on one-on-one, I consistently put on display one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Or once every quarter at the end of each one of those masterminds, we just dropped it yesterday as an example. We put out a recap video of the mastermind. I sit down and I do exactly what I just showed you, where I'm talking, and then it's clips of the mastermind and people talking at the mastermind, and then me talking and like recapping it or introducing the next speaker. And it's just back and forth and back and forth. Again, why? Because we have a mastermind and we sell people on the idea of what we specifically want people to value and what we want them to care about and what people that are our types of customers are actively already a part of.
Even
why
this,
they value it.
even this content right here is very, like, it's right on brand with what you're saying. Like,
That's
it's
exactly
like we're doing one-on-one, right?
exactly right.
I'm your ideal customer probably, right? It's great. Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm literally I'm living the actual example.
So,
yeah.
so now think about this. This is important to consider as well, is the broad content. Do we ever have any intention to monetize these folks?
Yeah, I would like to, because I want to help. You know, I have very simple parents. Very, I want to help people too. Like, I really want to help people just hit some level of achievement. Maybe not everybody wants to build $100 million plus company. Some people just want to make a couple million. And to be clear, I mean, taking your line. Sometimes, vanity is not what's important. Profit is what. We're in a very good place, but you might want to have a business that makes $10 million a year at 60% margins. That would be a really nice place to be, right? As opposed to having $100 million or $200 million company that's actually losing money, right? So for me, I just want to help people achieve something. That's what I think is like that's my mission. Like, that's my purpose. The other one is more like my business Colin. Business Colin wants to go help people like increase their trajectory, break through some limiting beliefs. I know they all have like this level of trauma, especially if they've scaled up to that point from zero. There's a lot of shit they probably haven't shed from the past, they get, I don't know, I could think of a bunch of reasons. But anyway, yeah, general pop.
Is there a minimum?
It would have to be, I don't know who the ICP is on that, because it's like,
who do you not want to tolerate is a better question.
It's get rich quick.
Okay, perfect.
I don't want to deal with drop shipper. No offense to drop. I know we got some people in the community, but like, I don't want to deal with people who are like drop shipping or like trying to do Amazon automation or anything like that. Amazon automation people actually have money. So, but I don't want to deal with it because I know the mindset of that person. I want somebody who was me before I had me. Scrappy, hungry, has some money put away for like consulting and, could buy a course, but needs the knowledge. That would probably be my second audience. People that maybe already have an idea, a product, maybe a service business where they're making like $1 million a year, and they just want to learn how to grow. Or somebody who's probably like, let's say you're working corporate, right? And you've got this idea, you've got this thing, but before you start, this is actually, so the book I'm writing that I haven't really, I've been touch and going because I've been so busy, but it's based on this premise of do all these things first. Before you start anything, here's what you need to do. And I thought the book was a good opportunity because it's a lower ticket item, you know, 40, 50 bucks. I wouldn't be cheap with it because the information is going to be gold. But yeah, I think there is a place for it, but I don't know. I haven't thought that far into the monetization strategy for it yet.
Makes sense. You're familiar with the Tesla Roadster?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The first car that
First, yeah,
Elon ever
the
sold.
exotic one is that the, yeah, it's
Yeah,
badass too.
I think they're just now coming out
story.
with it, by the way. Like, I
A
don't
new
think they've
one?
Oh no, I'm saying the original Tesla Roadster
Uh-huh.
that technically Elon launched
Mhm, mhm,
Tesla
mhm.
with.
Yep.
That was a car that you put a deposit for
Yes.
and that you could pay for up front via wire.
Yeah.
And all the money that came from selling to the richest people first is what eventually allowed
Yeah,
Elon to
yeah,
roll
yeah,
into
yeah.
selling to like Gen Pop as a whole. And this could arguably be a similar approach because if you aren't, let me be really clear with you. So if the ICP is just pretty much no get rich quick, like nobody who's in a position where they're like financially hurting or financially struggling or looking for cash really quick, they realistically have a business that's doing at least $1 million plus a year. And then somebody could have a well-paying job, to be fair, and like still technically qualifies.
And they want, yeah, they want to start something.
Exactly.
You know.
And when you just think like, all right, well, what could those products look like? Because
Yeah.
there's a substantial gap there between somebody who only does like $1 million a year or somebody that just has a high-paying job and like
Yep.
wants to action an idea. You're essentially going to have like a much broader personal brand if you were ever to monetize on like all those different types of
Right.
people that you could
Yeah.
sell to. You'd have your book, realistically books. You'd have whatever vehicle makes sense at the time, which, you know,
Damn.
could still be courses.
Yes.
Could be course in community, could be an event of some type. It could also be something with AI, like a clone of you as an example. Those seem to be very in demand right now. So because we don't necessarily know like to the T what could be monetized then, the Tesla lesson of, well, look, I mean, we know we eventually want to get there, but
Yeah.
you don't really know what we're going to sell them
Yes.
yet. And all we really know is like, well, we need enough money to justify like being able to move into that
Yes.
population one day. The focus in terms of monetization and getting this to the point where it cash flows should exclusively be kept on the 8 to 9 figure. You know, they're doing a couple $1 million a month already and are looking to hyperscale.
Yep.
On the broad entrepreneurial side of things, you should do an Hormozi play and you should consistently say like, look, I don't have anything to sell you right now. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you guys are my focal point. Like right now, my focal point are these types of people. I'm just here to, just like a philanthropic thing for me right now. Where
Yep.
I'm trying to
Which it is.
build into you guys as much as I can
Yeah.
and help as many people as I can and put out as much of my knowledge as I can.
That's been my
And-
mindset starting.
Yeah, it makes a lot of
It's
sense.
like philanthropic. It really is. My
Yeah.
content is
There should
based on that.
be more strategy on the 8 to 9 figure side
Yeah, I agree.
for that ICP, and then there should be more like yap sessions and just broader, like you don't really know what works yet on the broader demographic
Right.
population, and because they're also not the focal point yet, it's like,
Well,
it
you know,
doesn't
like
make sense to build around them yet. You know
So-
what I mean?
for example, the one thing when it comes to like team building, you know, understanding how to weed out your A players, your B players, your C players. A lot of people, they get stuck with C players that they don't know what to do with and stuff like that. So like I could probably talk about that more on like there's a lot of things that I post. I posted one about going to paying a ton of consultants, doing a bunch of mindset stuff and just looking for that one thing. Really, I just needed to think bigger, right? But that to me is I could take that premise of that topic and I could create a video or I could create something on YouTube that has the pain points and the thought process of somebody who needs to hear that message, but it's catered to them. So the thing about team building, right? Like learning how to find out your A players and your F players.
Yeah.
I've actively, the reason why I filmed that, why I wrote that content, I actually gave that piece of information as part of a consulting session a while back. And the guy was like, dude, that is gold.
Yeah.
Wasn't as huge of a company, but good company. So I know the information on all the stuff I write down is usually stuff from real information. So what I'm saying is I contextually, now that I know what you've brought to my attention, it's like, what if those nuggets are like, I give them to the general population, surface level, because you're not going to need to know the granularities of it yet. But I could talk about like weeding out A players and F players, very, very granular. Like I know I'm pretty good at it, you know, at weeding out who's good and who isn't. I don't have a high turnover rate at my business at all. Like very rare. It's like if somebody gets let go, it's an event because we keep our people. So I could do that content there, but then, you know, the topic about A players, F players, it's still relevant to the to that group, but the delivery of it goes to more of like a general population audience too, you know?
Yeah. The main thing that you got to also consider is that, okay, you've already got so much time and effort that has to go towards the main business right now. And this is a long-term play. So it's not going to be monetized in the short term
Not at all.
in any like justifiable way. And as a result of that, I don't want you to have to double the time and effort. Like, I don't want you to have to make a piece of content for the actual demographic that you intend on monetizing and are trying to build around. And then think to yourself, well, I need to now film this exact same piece of content again, but for a more entry-level demographic at the same time. Just remember, you want to get into a state of flow when it comes to content creation, where it should feel very effortless because it's just documenting what you already do. And then if your guy that you hire, this would be like the role of this particular guy, and it's important to understand, the camera guy needs to be able to understand when you're talking to one person and when you're talking to another, and sit you down strategically after it happened to get you to make like the intro, the mid clips, and like the outro for it. And that person is arguably the most valuable person in your long-term personal brand play here. Because they have to really get it. They can't be dumb. They can't be entry level. Like, they really need to understand content thoroughly from a positioning perspective. Because there's naturally going to be some shit you do where there's just a moment where it's like, oh, that's a perfect any entrepreneur broad channel piece of content. Like, let's just throw that up. But it's like, remember, you don't really care about that yet. Is the main thing I'm trying to articulate to you. You're just going to have a second channel for it. Because it's going to happen anyway, and you don't want to dilute your main channel's focal point. The main thing you're constantly trying to actually build around are the who of, okay, these guys who do 3 to 4 billion plus a month, they're trying to hyperscale. That's who I'm consistently trying to talk to no matter what. It's naturally going to come out of your mouth. There are naturally going to be other lessons that are just basic shit otherwise. You understand?
100%.
Don't intentionally think of making content at all for Gen Pop or any entrepreneurs right now. Okay? Remember, this is important to understand. They will, okay, like I talked about with me, I'm exclusively talking to people that at a bare minimum make 100K a month. I say that all the time. I say most of my people do a couple $100,000 a month when they join into my shit. It's like they're either trying to hit their first million a month or the next million a month. I get people that join in already above $1 million a month. It's like the people who are well below that revenue threshold still watch, even though they're not addressed in the content, because the umbrella, again, you cover everybody underneath the umbrella that's below that. So I thought, the highest level you talk to is the highest type of person you're going to get watching the content. But you get everybody below that naturally. Okay? So don't ever go out of your way to talk at a low level. Because it'll never appeal to the people that you're trying to talk to above that you're actually trying to build around and eventually monetize.
So if so let's say I'm talking like, let's say I want to bring relationship content into it. How does that fit? You know, because I thought that was great.
Think about the again, messaging best practices: problems, circumstances, and outcomes. I'll give you a perfect one. You wake up, you're having a great day, everything's totally fine, you're about to head out to the office, and out of nowhere, your wife comes in and is talking to you about something that you genuinely don't give a fuck about at all. Like not even remotely close to a problem that should be, like, you're in the middle of shower thoughts. Think about this. Just answer this one question. Do you have insanely good thoughts in the shower?
The best.
Think about this, okay? Every person watching this is like, yeah, dude, shower thoughts are insane. So like, you're in the middle of a shower, you're having shower thoughts, you're thinking at the highest level, you're sitting there processing information that like you really actually want to be thinking about. It's the morning, you're doing a morning shower, so on top of that, you're like thinking of all the shit you got to do in the day, and then out of nowhere, like I said, your wife comes in and is just bitching about you, just talking, not even bitching, just talking to you about something where you're like,
it happens all the time.
Where you're like, oh, I don't, like, whoa, I don't care about that like one bit, and it's taking me away from my awesome shower thoughts, and I'm now no longer focused on the day, and like, then you try to, let's say, explain to her in the most basic way, where you're just like, hey, like, I'm sorry, I'm just a little occupied right now. Like, I don't want to talk about it. She gets offended by it or something. And then you're like, well, what do you do in that situation? Right? Like, now you've got a problem that you potentially got to diffuse in that example. And you have to leave in 5 minutes because you have a meeting coming.
These are real problems. Like, these are like,
I'm describing like something that I'm sitting here thinking to the T, that I know a lot of people would have relatability with. That if you, again, if you contextualize it to, you've got a meeting coming up with a guy that's about to pay you an extra couple $100,000 a month if this specific deal closes. And if that specific deal doesn't, like, this isn't like a hard, big thing for you. Like, you're not like nervous about it, but at the same time, like if you go into your day a little off,
Yeah.
like that could fuck that meeting.
Yeah.
up,
100%.
right? And then
Yeah.
a non-problem that your wife, viewed it with importance.
Yep.
She comes and talks to you about it, and you're all of a sudden like, oh no, like now I feel thrown off because I have to diffuse the situation I just created from like not showing that I actually care about whatever she's.
And God forbid you don't diffuse it and you leave the house with that shit on you. That's the worst.
See, so
Yeah.
now think about that, right? It's like when you go back to messaging best practices of problems, circumstances, and outcomes, it's like we're not talking about
Relationship.
You're giving some general ass advice to a guy who's like went to a new city and like looking to date. It's like, no, you're talking about a guy who's got a wife, kids, a big business, is in a very specific mental frame while he's having those incredible shower thoughts.
Wow.
And it's not like you don't care about what your wife's saying, but you're in the middle of prioritizing something that makes so much more sense for you to actively put attention on instead. Then you talk about relationships.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's what I mean by context of problems, circumstances, and desired outcomes. The desired outcome is to immediately diffuse it as much as possible, or just to mitigate that from ever being a problem in the first place.
Yeah.
The circumstances, like you're in the shower, you're actively having great shower thoughts. Your problem is like, I'm trying to consider like what I should do next. And fuck, like now I'm in this situation.
And by then
you see what I mean?
Yeah, dude, no, and by 100%, because then what happens is you've also, at that point, you've kind of trained and framed your audience around how you speak anyway. So it just kind of, it's like, it rides the wave of what you've already created. Yeah, I get it.
You actually go look at Hormozi's, either one, or Alex or Layla. If you look at either one of their relationship pieces of advice, usually they're talking very specifically about something that they're dealing with as a couple who does business together.
Yep.
And, for a long period of time, they were ridiculed because they didn't have a child.
Yep.
Like, I'm under the impression they weren't that close to God either.
Yeah.
They would deal with criticism about that.
Yeah.
And then they realized like, oh, we need to really put this version of us on display. Like we can't like just show this one-sided version of us.
Yes.
So them at their level specifically, given how broad they're at this point, them showcasing those things makes them more relatable, humanizes them, gives people this like digital affinity of like, I'm getting to know these people and I'm really familiarizing myself with them. But again, if you really watch their relationship content, it's still about something that is a very specific dynamic that like they're dealing with given who they are.
Yeah.
And they're talking to their ICP when they make those pieces of content still.
Yeah.
You understand?
Dude, 100%.
It's not random. It's not broad.
Yeah.
It's very specific if you actually have
intentional.
for it. And most people who are watching it, they are the right people. And so they don't second guess it at all. They just immediately start watching it like, this is built for me.
Yeah. And it makes so much sense because I'm not just talking about within the context of who my ICP is. When I'm talking about, my wife and I got into it's not my wife and I got into an argument today. That's not what the hook is. The hook is like, or maybe that is the hook, but then the context of it is like, my mindset matches somebody else's mindset. I have a big meeting or I'm dealing with a major problem. That's when my shower thoughts are dedicated to problems. I solve problems in the shower. I really do. And I can maybe describe the problem. And now the problem I'm dealing with, they're never small problems. They're big problems.
Exactly.
So the person says, oh yeah, I've had that similar, I'm dealing with a major problem with my logistics supplier or, shipping or influx of customer orders and scaling, whatever the case may be. It's those little nuances of what you're talking about. Because I could easily just say, oh yeah, my wife and I got into a fight today and blah, 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 and here's how I fixed it. But that's a very general population way of doing it. But if I add context clues, inside of the way I speak in my content, I will it's like a dog whistle. A dog whistle, if anybody, I don't know if anybody knows what a dog whistle, like the context of a dog whistle, you blow, people know, dog can only a dog can hear it. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah. Only somebody who knows that problem would really hear it for the way I want them to hear it. Everybody else will hear it.
Okay. Now watch this. Now a final level to this whole thing is where you're captured. Okay. Where you're captured also matters just as much as what you're talking about. So as an example, like while we sit here and film this, there's plenty of people I've talked to. This is actually one of the funnier things that I've noticed. So back in the day, 2016, 2017, I had 3 different offices. I had one in Miami and Brickell, and I had 2 in downtown Beverly Hills. One of those offices was dedicated to salespeople out in Beverly Hills. One of them was like our creative department / like we film a bunch of shit there. And then the Miami one was just people who lived in Miami that also had roles within the marketing agency. We had 27 staff. And then I went through a period where I was like, I just hate staff. Like, I don't want to have a lot of staff.
Yeah, yeah,
Got rid of all the offices and we went remote. COVID coincidentally happened and we were already remote.
right.
So like I was chilling. And then after COVID, I was like, you know, the group grew big enough where I need like a dedicated facility now to be able to host those masterminds.
Yeah,
And I was like, let's use it as an office too in between.
yeah.
As soon as I got my office, this particular one we're filming in right now, I can't even put it to words simpler than this. Out of nowhere, there's a tremendous amount of people who previously hadn't done business with me that all of a sudden started to do business with me. And the reason that they cited was that I had a physical office with staff again
Hmm.
and that they found it relatable that I actually had like a physical team. I didn't lower the staff count when we went remote. I still had like a good chunk of staff, about the same amount I have now.
Yeah,
I just have people in person now at our facility and I have an actual office and facility.
yeah.
And that one difference, I noticed specifically with older demographics, it's like they put hella respect on my name
Hmm.
just because all of a sudden I had an office again. And it was one of those unknown unknowns. I get occasionally ridiculed for being a little fat. And I go through a physical routine now
Mm.
where I work out a lot. I'm on a weight loss journey. I'm
Yeah.
down 4 pounds in the most recent like 2 weeks. So I'm back on like a
Congrats.
more serious thing. I'm back on a more serious like weight loss journey again. And dude, one of these days I'm gonna come out just cut as fuck.
Mm.
Now I tell people all the time, I don't lie about it at all. I say the reason, like I'm totally fine. I feel fine. I feel healthy. I don't have like, my blood work's actually better being a
Mhm.
little slightly fatter than when I was like at my thinnest.
Yeah,
And I tell people, I'm like, the reason I'm going through my fitness journey is because I know for a fact there's people who don't buy from me just because I'm a little fat. And if I was more fit, I'd convert more people
Hmm.
as a result. And so sometimes here's what I want to articulate to you. Like being a little fat or not having the office without even being aware of it prevented buyers, prevented viewers from otherwise having conviction
yeah,
and saying, this is my guy, this is what I want to watch.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
where you capture yourself, you're going to put these things on display, whether you
Mhm.
realize it or not.
Yeah,
Okay. There's people who don't buy from me because I have like 6 cars and I
yeah.
post about them.
Right, right.
You
They
know?
think it's too flashy or
There are
something.
people who won't buy from me because I wear like fucking watches and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
you know, and I'll talk about it.
yeah.
There's people who won't buy from me because I dress the way I dress. But there's also plenty of people who literally do buy from me for those exact same reasons.
That was me.
I intentionally put all of them on display
Yep.
because there are things that are unspoken alignment variables.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so let me be clear on this. Like you posted a video, it was the most recent one I remember from you on IG. I remember what you were talking about, but you're in the 750S, the McLaren 750S. You're driving with the top down and you're just talking about something.
Yep.
And as an example, like as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh, sick. Like, you know, Colin's there driving a nice car.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a subliminal thing that just immediately comes across. Could you shoot in the office where there's just like, imagine saying the same lesson about staff when there's a fuckload of staff behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine saying the same lesson about culture while you're in the middle of one of those excursions with your leadership
Yeah,
team or
yeah.
your large like customer service team or something like that. Imagine you're talking about like vertical integration and then you literally go walk into a meeting to like acquire the next business that you're going to vertically integrate to or that you're going to establish as the next dominating
Yeah,
variable,
yeah.
right? It's like, remember these things as you go throughout your day for when you have opportunities
Yes.
to align the message to the environment because the environment or the variables within the environment amplify the message
To
or
totally.
detract from the message.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
No, I do. So we have got the 65,000 square foot pharmacy that is in Houston. And like I go there for our quarterly leadership meetings.
So you get 4 opportunities a year to shoot there.
I'm already thinking about like the next time we go there. We do offsites too. So sometimes we might do, I think next quarter, I think we're gonna do Sonoma, right? So probably be in California doing an offsite leadership with all the executive leaders from the entire portfolio, right? So it's not just like Brello, my brand, we have the entire executive team from our holdings company as well. So I'm thinking like, damn, dude, I should definitely bring somebody to that, like for sure.
100%.
Yeah, like, and we're gonna be staying in like an unbelievable place, and I like it's. You know what it is you per usual, like you're opening my eyes to what I actively need to look for.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to look for. Like I'm just like, hey, okay, well, tomorrow I'm going to my studio. We have a studio here, which you got to come, but sometimes you'd love it there. I'm gonna go and film a bunch of talking head content. I got 15 videos that I got to film. I got to film some ads for my brand and blah blah blah. But that's what I've been looking for, right? Now I'm looking for like. Now when I'm in my office, if Thursday, I have a day full of calls. I bought a little remote for my phone so I can turn it on and off when I'm driving to record.
Nice.
So before a call, I'm gonna set up a tripod. I'm 100% I'm gonna do this. Like you know me, dude. You tell me something, I do it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put it on a tripod before the call. I'm gonna hit start. If it's super sensitive information, I won't, you know, I'll probably blur it out or I'll cut it out.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna know when I'm talking, I'll be like, oh, this is gold. Like I
That's
know
the value of just documenting it.
that
Like,
just
you get
document.
the choice later for what you put out. And what you don't.
Exactly. So I'm gonna do that. Like Thursday, like it's not gonna be professional maybe because I'll probably just use my phone to start.
Yeah.
But I'll get a good angle. Maybe I'll work with the lighting a little bit, and then I'll bring somebody in just to test it out. Get, you know, first pyramid on the block. Let me just film instead of having to make a call and find somebody.
Yeah.
But for sure. And now I'm actively thinking, all right, well, the trip to Sonoma or wherever we go, it could be Houston again,
Yeah.
but maybe I should fly out to Houston and film content,
Yeah.
you know,
No, you absolutely should.
and just,
Yeah.
and do like
If
this is,
there's anything like that where there's like a 65,000 square foot
yeah,
facility
it's
and
a
you can
bit
actually like
huge.
demonstrate it and you're talking about what it took to expand into a 65,000 square foot facility and you're
Yeah.
showcasing all the staff that are in the facility and you're showcasing all the operations that are actively happening in the facility and you're literally talking about operations or hiring or expanding or again it's profound.
Yeah.
The extreme difference.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a really good piece of content if you've never watched this.
Okay.
Honestly, you're gonna pull so much value from this if you've never seen this.
Okay.
It's Elon Musk walking around the Starship.
I'm going to write it down.
It's in Texas. Whatever that name of the city and facility is in Texas, there's this YouTuber that went and just followed Elon around. It's like a 3-hour video, dude. It's just Elon at the actual rocket building facility in Texas. And he's sitting there and he's yapping about engineering problems and he's just handing down these tidbits of information throughout the video. And you already know, you're like, this is the richest dude on earth right now.
Mhm.
You're sitting here and you're watching this guy at his own facility where there's skyscraper-sized rockets behind him, where there's random engineers just walking around, rocket scientists walking around. Like literally they look like him.
Yeah.
And he'll like go up and he'll talk to him and like the interviewer behind the scenes is competent enough to ask the right questions and is also genuinely curious to figure out different engineering-based questions. And Elon's competent enough to answer them themselves. And then he'll just randomly riff on things like, by the way, one problem that people always think is that you should figure out this first. He's like, no, the first thing you should figure out is what is not needed in what you are making. And then he'll just go back to like talking about whatever the fuck he was talking about. And you sit there and you're pulling these little tidbits in this 3-hour video.
Yeah.
And it's unreal how perceptually just dense with information the video is about things that you might not even otherwise care about that relate to just actually building rockets.
Yeah, like rocket
But then there's
science.
entrepreneurial lessons in it that are just insane.
Yeah.
And it's imagine him saying those same lessons, like sitting at a desk or like sitting in a studio.
So true.
It's like, it just, when you see him at, I think it's called Starbase, literally walking around and you just witness it, you're like blown away by direct comparison.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you always need to be in a specific environment when you're filming and documenting, but if you can get to a ratio where more than 50% of what you're actually putting out is like in the trenches while you're documenting the lesson you're trying to accomplish documenting,
Yep.
so much more profound. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I love it.
I gave the lesson with you where I said, imagine you and I had this whole conversation privately, and then after the fact, I sit down and I'm like, hey guys, I want to share with you some lessons that I was talking about with our top Jeremy's Inner Circle member in terms of gross revenue and what he walked away with as a plan.
Versus the actual filming of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is my version of being in the trenches with you at like Starbase by comparison. You understand?
So smart. Yeah.
It's like, the more you can do that, the better. And it'll look like what it looks like. It'll look like calls. It'll look like driving in the car. It'll look like randomly picking up the phone. It'll look like some occasionally stressed out moments.
Yeah.
It'll look like being at a 65,000 square foot facility occasionally. It'll look like occasionally meeting with bankers.
Yep.
It'll look like occasionally going on culture trips. You know, like all of it encompasses the differentiator to you, which is going to be demonstration content.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to this. For you to monetize all this, you realistically don't want to, I normally tell somebody, I'd say, look, you kind of want to put a time frame to it for when you're going to want to start to monetize it, because that'll determine when you kind of kick up the CTAs that you're going to make.
Right.
It's very important to note, you'll have videos that you need to consider as digital real estate.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So if I have a video that's optimized for search specifically, my search optimized videos will live there for a long time. As an example, I have this video that says something about how to write a VSL 8-figure lessons, like 8-figure VSL lessons or some shit like that. And that video, if you go type in like how to write a VSL, it ranks really high for that specific search term. And it gets consistently more viewers, but it's like over a year old. But it's a timeless video. It could be 5 years old and it'd still be hyper valuable. That specific video, if I did not have CTAs in it yet, it would lose a lot of the revenue that would otherwise make us.
Right.
That does have CTAs in it. So I do make revenue off of it as a result of having CTAs.
Yes.
You need to consider what your current CTAs are going to be. So all these videos that eventually occupy different search terms as the digital real estate that owns that category, they have to be timeless in a way where you wouldn't be upset if you're like, man, that video's ripping right now and I am ready to monetize and didn't make a single call to action in it. You know? So we have to find something that's not necessarily the actual product that we can tell people to go and like,
it's not like following. You don't want to like follow and like or anything. It's like you need something that's.
You could like repurpose the messaging of the videos in a way where you're making those same videos into a newsletter as an example. And you could say, hey, by the way, if you guys want these same insights inside of your email, just go in the description. There's a link down there. And again, we'll repurpose all this so it's written for you as well. So you can get the value dense aha moments out of it.
Yeah.
You could do, as an example, for some people, IG is the conversion mechanism. Like I'll get people that'll watch a lot of videos on YouTube, but then on IG specifically, I post like 5 times a day currently. Every single one of them has a CTA to comment a word to get something sent to them via DMs to buy something. So it's like I could drive people technically to IG knowing that I'd eventually do that on IG if I didn't do it right away. So we have to determine what the CTAs are going to be for this, even though we're not making call to actions to buy something yet.
Got it.
Does that make sense? Did anything come to mind that you agree with?
When you said something about a newsletter, it's just, you know, I don't have the time or the bandwidth to like, even with
so easy nowadays.
Even like I was thinking with AI. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess a newsletter isn't bad. Because a newsletter, if I'm going to build anything, I want to build a list.
If you're by the way, just to help you understand this, you're going to burn some cash on a team of people that are eventually going to help you justify monetizing it sooner than later. And if you say something like, oh, I don't have time to do this, you just have to remember, like, you're not poor. You're rich. You get to hire people at a burn where it's like, it's not a position where you're technically monetizing it right away. It's a position you're going to monetize in an unknown period of time in the future that you're for sure going to monetize. And it's not really a loss in the meantime to put them on payroll.
That's an investment.
And have them do something.
Like how would pull cash out of it, cash into anything.
So it's like, this is a long-term
That's a great
bet
point.
In this case. And again, you're not poor. So it's like, you could hire somebody. If that ever comes up, just determine like,
who do I need to hire? Yeah, that's a great point.
So I would put somebody in like button seat for that, or to be clear, you may be even able to multi-purpose the cameraman position. And have them also be responsible for just taking the exact same content, running it through a specific AI prompt that you pull per video to like chop that into a specific newsletter style formatted thing from other newsletter formats you like.
A newsletter, I believe in lists. So. And I know a solid list can do some damage when you want it, when it's time, you know? And the longer I nurture that list with just pure value, the more you nurture it with pure value, it's like, I'm almost being charitable for my ICP because I just don't want to monetize them. You said I'm stiff arming them, right? Like, hey, I'll give you the value for free, but I don't want to work with you.
Anybody's going to hit you up. They're going to be like, I want to buy. And you're just like, sorry, man. Like,
I got nothing to say. I literally have nothing to sell anybody right now. I don't want to, I mean, you'd have to pay me a stupid amount of money.
That's what's going to get them to actually pay that, by the way.
Probably. Because I might say no, because I really, that's one thing I really learned. And maybe that would be one of the videos is like, you really look at time as a true commodity when you start making money.
Of course.
Like you don't because you're so scrappy and you're just trying to get the shit done. So, but you're 100% right. I could probably just hire somebody to do it.
That's exactly right.
So
we have to simply consider like, what's the CTA going to be? So if the CTA ends up being a newsletter, just remember, in every video, you're going to find from your analytics that there's a certain threshold of the video that's actually viewed on average. And it's never perfect. It's not like, let's say that you put a 30-minute video out and you see an average watch time of 8 minutes. It doesn't literally mean that somebody's watching the first 8 minutes of it and then leaving.
Right.
It means they're likely skipping around and just consuming 8 minutes of it as a whole.
Got it.
You
Got it.
understand?
Yeah, it's not a linear journey when they're watching videos. Got it.
Correct.
Yep.
So
Understood.
as a result of that, we want to work in call to actions usually around like 1/3 into the video, again at a halfway point, and again at the last part of the video as
This
well.
will be on IG as well, or like,
This
or
could
for
specifically
YouTube?
be for YouTube for
Okay,
longer
great,
form videos. Yeah, if you do ever want to do a call to action on IG, again, every call to action is going to be, hey, comment this word, and I'll shoot you over links. You guys can get signed up for my newsletter.
And you
should
just throw
definitely
some mini
occasionally
chat in there and let it do it.
exactly that. It's literally as simple as mini chat. If that word's commented, then say, here's the link to the newsletter, and just a basic opt-in. And it's so simple. This
Damn,
would be
this
the
is
easiest thing to execute initially.
I think that this is probably be the direction I'm going to go. Because again, a newsletter, I can just nurture it. I don't have to monetize it. I'm not going to set an offer, but if you build that list, 10, 15,000 people over a year,
Yeah.
it's literally going to just, it's not free money because I got to deliver on a service, but it's free money.
Correct.
There's no CPA on that. There's no customer acquisition cost.
Correct.
And you probably got some crazy good. Yeah, I love that, dude. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go with the newsletter. Now I got to kind of I'm a direct response guy. So I'm going to create I'm not just going to throw up I'm not just going to YOLO it. I'm going to put together a badass newsletter headline and, probably do a little lander or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. That I really like that idea. And I had already thought of it, but like hearing the way you're thinking about it and how hearing about like, you said something that I thought was really cool was about like your different audiences can get different products. Grant Cardone does shit like that,
Exactly.
right? Like you can sell them 10 different things. Like for example, if I have my lower ticket, right? It's my book. And my book fulfills my desire to want to help people.
Exactly.
I'm not going to be cheap. That book is not going to be $20.
Yeah.
Because I value my knowledge.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to spend 50, 60 bucks on a book,
yeah,
you'll probably read it.
Makes sense.
So I like that idea because that can be my lower ticket.
Yeah.
Then I've got my middle.
Yeah.
And then I've got my like upper tier. Because that's my ascension.
Yeah.
That's my ascension model.
All right, I want to practice something with you real quick.
Let's
so I
do
can make sure that you really walk away knowing
Yeah.
how to specifically communicate to the avatar here, okay?
Let's do it.
So you have a tremendous amount of lessons that you could share on the topics that I'm about to describe.
Okay.
Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt you with a particular topic. And I want you to be able to take that topic and I want you to be able to wrap it specifically in a way that's exclusive for your ideal customer, in this case, that you eventually want to sell to.
Okay.
Okay. So as an example, offers, the best practices of offers. What would you say? Thinking of the person that does $3 to $4 million a month, they're looking to scale up to 10 million plus a month, and they're actively sitting there just kind of stuck, but they're thinking to themselves, it could be an offer problem. How would you package it?
So I guess what I would start with is understanding oh man, this is a loaded question because I love offers. So I could really super nerd out on this.
Now think of this, remember, messaging is problems, circumstances, and desired outcomes.
Okay, problems.
Pick something very specific. And remember, I also prompted you with this earlier. The most universal shared problem, circumstance, or desired outcome. Like we talked about shower thoughts. Very universal shared belief and perspective.
Yeah. If it was your offer, so if I'm thinking about your circumstance, so if you're an offer, your offer is not performing as well. It's not converting like it was. You're using paid media. Your cost for acquisition is going up. The first thing, this is kind of funny. The first tip that I would tell somebody to use, and it's kind of like the oldest trick in the book, is I would think of, this is funny. I would do figure out what kind of free premium I could give somebody with their offer, so like for example, let's say if your offer is not converting, one of two things is happening. Either your total addressable market size is just shrunk down and you just don't have people that can buy the product anymore.
Yeah.
Because products don't die, offers do, right?
Yeah.
So what I would probably say is what's likely happening is there's a disproportionate perception of value between what you have to offer and the price you're charging.
All right, let me stop you. Watch this.
Go ahead.
Okay. Your specific stories.
Yeah.
And your specific problems you were up against.
Yep.
Pick from that.
I know exactly what we did.
Yep. Earlier today, you were telling me that you should always spend through your problems.
Yep.
And that you should never stop spending money on paid acquisition.
Yep.
If your paid acquisition is starting to go off the charts,
yep,
you said you shouldn't stop spending. You said it could be an offer problem. Did you face that specific issue at one point?
Yeah.
Tell that exact story. So frame it in a way where you're like, I was watching my cost of acquisition fly off the charts.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm gonna have to shut off my ads.
Yeah.
And instead of shutting off my ads, I did an assessment. And in that assessment, I uncovered it was my offer. And at the time, I had an offer that was like this. And I was around this revenue threshold. And to get to really break through, and what actually caused the breakthrough, dude, I did this one thing on my offer and it made this difference. Tell a story like that.
Increasing. So I would say you need to increase the perceived value of your offer. Your offer is no longer being perceived as valuable. So what I did is we sell online meds, right? Well, to be simple, telehealth. So for a long time, we were the king of the offer. We had a good offer, but the one thing you have to understand about tweaking your offer is understanding why the offer is not working. So in our instance, the reason why the offer wasn't working is because the competitive landscape was growing and the market sophistication was growing. So I had competitors that previously weren't there with similar style offers. I came with a really aggressive offer. I was the king of the hill with the offer. Nobody could touch us. We were the offer, but it was really centric around medication. So once the total addressable market kind of didn't shrink, but there was more people capturing it, people taking my market share, what I had to do is I had to increase the perceived value of my offer, where it's no longer just meds. So what did we do? We invested an ungodly amount of money into building a digital wellness platform. So now you've got a digital fitness studio that you can stream. Like you can stream Umbrella Rise is a digital workout studio. So after you buy, let's say you buy some sort of medication that's going to facilitate any type of, I'm not making any claims. Sorry, my compliance brain is always on. So if you buy a specific type of medication that delivers any type of perceived outcome that you might want, you don't have to just rely, you're not just looking at the medication. Now you get, and then we also built a Facebook community. Now that Facebook community has 16,000 members. We have an app. It's got 4.7 stars rating on, and the core offer is still the same. The meds are the same price. They didn't change, but we value stacked with different things that give it a higher level of perceived value where, okay, we're not, now you're in my competitive landscape, right? But we're not comparing apples to apples. If you come to our brand, you've got the meds plus all this other stuff, good old value stacking, you know, Russell Brunson, tons of value, and the other people are just selling meds. There's no app, there's no platform, there's no nothing.
Watch this. If I started the video and I'm like from like a more emotional place, like a very specific part of the story, I'm like, I was staring at my screen and I'm looking at the ads manager and we're spending a couple $100,000 every 48 hours at this point.
Yep.
And I'm watching my CPA fly. You know,
This is so good.
It's hundreds of percent higher than it was. And man, at the same time, I'm watching competitors just slowly, and it's getting bigger by the week, just take away market share from me. The market wasn't growing. It wasn't shrinking either, but my competitors were stealing customers from me that I rightfully viewed as mine. And instead of just shutting off the ads because my cost was climbing, you know, I questioned the offer. And at the time I was just selling the medicine, you know, whatever perceived outcome people thought they were going to get from the medicine, I thought I could do more for them. And so to strengthen the offer, what I did is I spent an ungodly amount of money. And what I chose to invest into was this digital wellness platform. And so when somebody would buy this medicine for these specific outcomes they were after, I knew that this could help them. And so I'd include this in the cost of the medicine. That changed everything. My CPA went back down. I started generating more new customers as time continued to pass. And my business was no longer stuck at only a couple $1 million a month. I was officially growing again.
Damn.
And I was able to ride that. You see what I mean? Like,
bro, that was, I'm intrigued in my own story and you're just regurgitating what I just said.
So it's like how, okay, remember, it's like how we frame the story.
Yeah.
We want to, like, people have no fucking clue who Russell Brunson is. Like,
Yeah.
we have to assume that, you know?
That's so
like,
true.
we can't just pepper in the middle of it like, you know, Russell Brunson.
Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. It's a great point.
We gotta be like, okay, at what point in the story does this story start? Where do I find the relatability to my people that I'm talking to? And how can I immediately like get them hooked on what I'm talking about and keep them hooked? And like I said, so I chose a specific part of the story where I'm staring at the ads manager.
I love that. I love the hook on that. Like,
I'm staring at the ads manager and I'm watching Zuckerberg raise my costs a couple 100% over a week. and I'm wondering if I'm gonna have to shut the creatives off. And instead of doing that, I decided I'm gonna make a big offer change.
Damn, that was so good,
You know,
bro.
it's like
Like,
just a few words in, it's like, okay, this guy's talking about offers and he's dealing with something that's fucking me
huge.
right
Yeah,
now.
spending a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend $100,000 a day.
Sure,
Oh
me.
yeah, way over that.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
So
it's like more of the story is we have to find when we talk about these different topics, right? Because you could go home and you could be like, all right, I'm going to talk about how we're incorporating AI into our current career stack.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
I'm going to talk about how we're just incorporating AI into the business period because people obviously care about that right now, and it's a very like hot topic and hot commodity that's going to increase your total viewership and get your personal brand viewership off the ground like right away. We have to determine. Like, we can't just sit there and be like, all right, I'm gonna talk about AI and just start like fucking yapping about AI. We have to be like, all right, where in a specific story am I gonna start?
yes,
Right? Like, I'll give you a perfect example. So let's use the example of AI, because AI is something that people care about a lot right now. And I'm sure that you've integrated AI into your business in
yeah,
different ways, right?
yep,
So think about the profound aha moments. Like, I remember the first time, this is where the video had started to be like, I sat there and I watched my computer do work for me for the first time. And it was such a profound aha moment to me. And right then and there, I realized this was going to seriously disrupt how I run my business. And look, I'm already out a couple $1 million a month at this point, and I quickly realized, wow, the hiring process is going to change. The way my people currently work is going to change. I might not even need certain roles in the organization here soon enough. At this point, while I'm sitting here watching my computer work for itself for the first time, I have 80 different staff and customer service roles, and I'm witnessing a random tweet that just came across my news feed tell me that they've automated customer service better than what any person could ever do. And I'm in agreement with it as I sit there and watch it. And I'm poised with some serious considerations. First of all, I love all my staff, and I would never, like when my people leave, like it's an event, like you say, it's
damn, this is great.
you get, like, I can pick up the story right there, and then I can add the random shit I want to talk about AI into that story. Remember, like when you start whatever you're talking about, try to pick like a very specific, highly relatable moment
Yep,
to the actual ICP.
yep,
Does that make sense?
yeah,
Okay, I want
100%.
you to try again. This time specifically, talk about paid acquisition. So again, all I'm going to tell you is just paid acquisition as a whole is the topic. Pick a random moment in time where you were around a couple $1 million a month and you were poised with something that you want to help people with, and go right back to the exact moment where you were getting fucked or where you had an epiphany and you finally got to the other side of a problem that's been cooking you for a while, and try to pick it up right there.
On paid customer acquisition, I have something about paid customer acquisition, but the aha moment was around infrastructure and like being built to scale. 'Cause-
Scott,
So I'll give you. I'm thinking with yours. So I'll never forget when we launched. I'll never forget when we launched our first offer. I set the ads up to on Black Friday to start running first thing in the morning. This is a true story. That's why I'm literally telling the story, but I'm doing it in your context.
this is really good.
Yeah. And I woke up the next morning at 6 to check to see how the emails, the Black Friday Cyber Monday emails that we sent out, the pre-launch release emails for our first offer that we ever launched, how they were doing. And I looked inside of Stripe, and there were 900 pending orders. And I actually thought it was a glitch at first because I didn't think that we could have launched to that low of an audience. And sure enough, our offer took off like a lightning bolt. The one problem that I didn't understand, that I didn't know then, that I know now, was to be very mindful of how your merchant account is set up. Because what happened was I told people that they wouldn't get billed because I was under the impression we were just going to do a temporary hold until they got their doctor's approval. What I didn't know was that there was going to be a pre-authorization for all of those credit cards. So as the offer's running, I'm scaling the living shit. I'm crushing it. I mean, we're just doing 10, like literally in 3 days, we ended up doing like, I want to say we did like 6,000 new customers, right? The problem was all of those people thought they were getting scammed because we clearly put, you will not be charged. and they weren't charged. There was a temporary hold on their card. So we got flooded with customer service. And I had one customer service agent, and it was my operations manager. And when I tell you, I started Trustpilot with a 1.2 star review rating, and I hadn't shipped out. I hadn't even been in business for 3 days.
Yeah.
So it taught me about being ready to scale, being prepared for scale. Like, are you prepared to handle the influx of delivery that you're gonna have to make across all, fronts? Anyway,
Now, that's an awesome intro.
yeah.
And then you tie it to something that specifically gives them what's called the payoff now.
Okay.
Okay, so the payoff, like, let me give you an example of what I think could be the payoff in a video like this. Right away, I'm like, okay, so are you proposing I would have hired like 10 customer service reps
Right.
prior to the launch? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I would have.
You see what I mean? Then I'm like, is this guy saying when I go to do a launch that I should have like a whole infrastructure on the back end already built out and ready to go?
Yeah.
Should I do it a specific way since I don't actually know if it's going to work out or not? That's where you get the payoff. Now you want to explain like what you actually want them to do with what you just said.
My answer would be simple. Test your ecosystem that you're about to launch with before you launch it. Because if I just ran a test transaction on my own card, not on a testing environment, not in Sandbox, no, like if I just would have gone and done a fucking basic transaction for $99 to start for the first month, I would have seen that my card got charged. That's all. It was a very simple fix. And had I just been very thorough, I was so excited. And I'm trying to think of, I understand what you're saying. So I'm trying to think of like what
it's like
the
bridge. So you bridge. It's like you say that first part and then just remember to yourself, be like, now I'm just leaving this person hanging. Like now they're looking at me and saying,
what do I do?
Like I'm in this story with you. Like, what do I do now?
Yes.
Right. So like you bridge by saying, here's what you should do.
Yes.
Just in case.
And maybe what I would do under normal circumstances is I guess I would think of what the information and the solution are. What's the payoff and what's the story?
Yeah.
What's the payoff?
Yeah.
And then the middle is the story. And I'm a decent storyteller, so I like
CTA at the end.
And the CTA.
Like, by the way, if you want more lessons just like this, I've got a newsletter for guys that are just like you.
Yeah.
Comment this word or go check that link in the description.
Yeah.
Look you up.
Dude.
You know what I mean?
Bro, I love that. And I like to tell stories. I've got a bunch, dude. I've got a bunch of really good in the trenches stories.
So it's like, that's what you start with a topic where you're like, okay, this is, again, because think about this, right? Do the guys that do a couple $1 million, are they going to deal with AI? Are they going to deal with offers? Are they going to deal with paid acquisition?
Yep.
Are they going to deal with organic? Are they going to deal with staff? Are they going to, these are broad topics.
Yep.
Right. And then you could specifically pull where you're like, oh, dude, I got this one story. You're like, just as an example, like where you were sitting there talking about infrastructure. At one point, the last marketing job I had before I had my marketing agency, I had a list at that specific business available to blast to of like 400-something thousand people at the time.
Yeah.
And I saw this random email that came into my inbox, and it looked like an iPhone email, like it's sent from my iPhone, but it wasn't. It was from a broadcast.
Yeah.
Like it was sent from my iPhone. So I was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna try that. And this is such an innocent thing. I had no idea what it could do.
Yeah.
And I sent this email off to 400-something thousand people that just said, hey, are you still interested in this product? Let me know. Send from my iPhone. Bro, I had like 40,000 responses. What? The COO about beat my ass. She came in there and was like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm like, I have no idea. And dude, every single individual department, from shipping to the marketing team to the sales guys were overwhelmed, the tax department got assigned different pages of this email to go and read every single one of them and forward them over to an assigned sales rep that person had.
Wow.
And in total, this was an incredibly super valuable thing.
Yeah.
But I was very unprepared for what was going to occur as a result of that action.
Oh, bro, yeah.
I never would have anticipated that it could have achieved that level.
I've got
the call to action for that one. I would just tell them, if you want to learn to send from my iPhone.
Yeah. Right.
Sometimes the payoff is the call to action.
Oof.
Other times the payoff is what do you actually wanted to do with that information?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because you're saying if you want to learn, because that similarly could have been that story that I talked about with the orders,
Yeah.
it was actually the consequence of a Black Friday Cyber Monday strategy that I learned from Ezra Firestone
Yeah.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
It prints money. We call it the Dominator.
Nice.
And we used it for our offer to start, and it hit like bigger than any offer I've ever ran in my life.
And so you wouldn't have known realistically you needed, 10.
No, yeah, I wouldn't have known.
Customer
Right. That's,
service.
yeah, I wouldn't have known. So what, dude, well, again, it goes back to what you're saying. Think with the story and the payoff in mind. Like,
Yeah.
what's the topic and what's the payoff? I'll give you like a shorter one that's like more recent, right?
Sure.
And it's about like how the unscalable things can have very scalable impact. This just happened 2 weeks ago, and I normally don't. I'm very big. I keep a very close pulse on Trustpilot. I told you, I went through a rabbit hole of Reddit. I'm making a bunch of changes in my business. That's not typically like scalable. And there's a lot of people that say, well, you shouldn't be doing that. You should have somebody on your team. But this would be a great example of like how sometimes as a CEO, you need to do the unscalable things that can have a big impact.
Bingo.
So listen, I'm literally thinking with your framework in mind.
Yeah.
So the other day, I'm sitting on the couch, and I know exactly how I'm going to tell the story. It's crazy. I'm sitting on the couch with my wife. It's a Friday night. And we're chilling, we're watching TV, and we're just enjoying our time. And I go on my phone, I casually refresh Trustpilot like I do a bunch of times a day just to keep a pulse on my consumer sentiment. And there's a 1-star review. And I'm reading the 1-star review, and the 1-star review is very legitimate. It is not like, oh, I didn't accomplish my goal, blah, blah. It was like, I'm reading this, I'm like, if this is true, this woman did not have what I call a world-class experience, right? So I literally get up off the couch, I walk to my office, I look her up, I call her, she doesn't answer. I text her directly from my phone. Mind you, at this point, because we had a couple of hiccups, we were at like a 4.1 Trustpilot review. That's very important for this story. We're at a 4.1. And we've been getting 5-star reviews, but we just couldn't crack to get to 4.2. And in my world, Trustpilot is very important, right? Consumers use it a lot. So anyway, I text her, she texts me back. And I basically tell her like, hey, I'm gonna get this problem resolved for you. Let's chat Monday. Our pharmacy's closed till Monday. I reach out to her first thing, 9 a.m. on the dot Monday. I had it set in my phone. I reach out to her, hey, so-and-so, just want to let you know, XYZ. She texts me later in the afternoon, okay, or early in the morning, XY, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I end up refunding her order. I end up calling my business partner. I tell him, hey, so-and-so name, get this out today, please. Da-da-da-da-da. He gets with his team. She's got a tracking number. She's got everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm texting her directly on my phone, and I'm sending her the things, right? Yeah. Sending her the updates. And the next day, because we ship overnight, I check the tracking number before she even texts me. She hasn't even texted me yet. I check the tracking number. I see it through. It says delivered. I send her a screenshot. Just wanted to let you know. She sent me the most epic, like, I'll show it to you after, just to give you some context after we watch this. Like, this is so amazing. I really appreciate your accountability, blah, blah, all the great things, right? She goes and changes her Trustpilot review from a 1-star to a 5-star. That change boosted us to a 4.2.
That's sick. That's a good payoff.
So do like my message to that. When I get the trophy that you and I are talking about that I want to get, I already know exactly what talk I'm going to give. Yeah. And it's the importance of delivering a world-class experience to your customers. That's if you ask anybody at my organization, anybody, if you ask them what's the standard that we deliver at this company, there is not a single person that will not say world-class experience. Everybody knows. It's undeniably good work and world-class experience. Yeah. So that was an unscalable action that I took. I tried it again with a dude. We don't constantly have 1-star reviews. It's not like a theme. Yeah, but
I mean, at your scale.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, you're not gonna make everybody happy. Even, I read a joke about, I think my wife sent me a video that says, whenever you're feeling bad about, because we went to Yellowstone and with my family for Father's Day, and she sent me I think it was a reel or something that said like, whenever you're feeling down, just remember that there's people that have given Yellowstone a 1-star review. Yeah. And like it was hysterical. But I reached out to this guy, hey, so-and-so, I definitely understand what your problem is. Let me go ahead and expedite this for you. He ended up removing his 1-star review. Yeah. And he just, hey man, I really appreciate the accountability. Thank you so much. Yeah. Everything's been cleared up. Those little things, dude, they have such, now you can scroll through our entire Trustpilot review for 2 pages and there's only 5-star reviews. And it was just by me solving problems,
Makes sense.
Unscalable. I could have said, hey, customer service team, go do this, but like, is that going to guarantee that my person gets a world-class experience?
Yeah.
And now if you're getting a bunch of 1-star reviews, you got a product problem.
Yeah.
That's not, so sometimes the unscalable things fuel scale, because now that 4.2, which now we're creeping on to 4.3,
Yeah.
that 4.2 is going to correlate with revenue.
Here's what happens, by the way, as soon as you do that successfully, which is a great example, it immediately prompts the person who's sitting there watching it with a whole bunch of like things that they've gone through.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh man, I've either experienced that directly and it's been awesome.
Yep.
Or I know exactly what he's talking about and I got fucked by that because I didn't do it.
Dude, yeah.
And
I've got so many, now you got my brain going crazy, because I literally live, customer service, dude. I treat customer service, I take a portion of my marketing budget and allocate it towards having an excess of customer service reps.
Yeah.
So that it's not just a customer service budget. Because to me, I just filmed this content and I did a McLaren video on this one.
Yeah.
If you're, my hook is, if you're a business owner, repeat after me. Customer service is marketing.
Yeah.
Customer service is marketing. It's not this administrative bullshit that you got to deal with as a consequence of doing business.
Yeah.
It is your opportunity to either efficiently acquire a new customer, retain a customer, or get existing customers to refer new customers.
Yeah.
So I've got real stories in my head that I could tell based on what you're telling me. That was a good one, bro. Because I've got mountains of
Dude,
stories.
so exactly this, like when you go back and you look at that notes app that you've got,
Yep.
of all these different
I have them
ideas,
all.
I said,
Yeah.
this is how you articulate them, okay? And remember, I want you to remember this. This is super important. When they come, document it in a way that you'll remember how you thought about it in the first place.
I do that.
Dude, I'll be in the middle of the shower and I'll like yell, I'll yell at my wife. I'll be like, Elenia, you bring me my phone, please? And I'll just sit there and like I'll fucking voice note a whole random.
I do the same thing, bro. That's the thing is, so what you're saying is so pertinent to me, because every single thing that I write, I put it in my notepad because I'm like, that's a great lesson.
Yeah.
I don't just think of the content that I'm putting out is not, oh, this is a good thought, right? Or this, of course, sometimes maybe it is a little bit here and there, but the vast majority of the notes that I have in my notepad, it's from shit happening, and I'm like, this is a good lesson here.
Now, one specific component out of your story that you have to learn to add to it, which are the little, remember what I talked to you about at the very beginning of this, where I said messaging is sensitive.
Context clues. Yeah.
It's sensitive.
Yeah.
If I said 0 to 9 figures, I'm attracting highly skeptical, quick people that have the most audacious expectations.
Yes.
If in the middle of you telling that story, right, at the very beginning, where you're like, every day I usually sell about 1,000 new customers, and every day I usually get about X amount of Trustpilot reviews.
Yeah.
And so as a result of that, every day, every few hours, I'm sitting there and I'm refreshing Trustpilot to make sure I didn't get a new 1-star review.
Yep.
And I'm sitting on the couch with my wife on a Friday night and a new one hits.
Yep.
And it was a legitimate 1-star complaint. It made sense. So, and then you just literally pick up the exact same.
But you just hit me with like 4 different context clues, the amount of
exactly
volume I do.
That's exactly right. But that's massively the most important part that you can't neglect is you have to remember that one component, because that is the differentiating component that talks to your ICP versus feel like it's generalized information.
Oh, bro, this is like the best YouTube content. Like I could just do this over and over and over again because I have so many. How many times should you post like long form YouTube content? Would you
What's
say?
up to you? So some people just do once a week. I personally have kicked it up to 3 times a week.
Yep.
I technically post 4 times a week with that Lessons for the Kids channel fact. I post 3 on the main channel. I post 1 for the Lessons on the Kid.
Yeah.
I don't find it tough. I don't find it challenging at all.
Yeah.
I mean, really think about what you and I are doing right here as an example of it's like, is this tough?
Yeah, no, not at all. No,
we're sitting here doing something we'd literally do otherwise. We're just doing it
Yeah.
on camera instead.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I find it super easy. So if you find it super easy and you don't find it like an interference to your routine and you're capable of doing it, then that's really, I think, what determines how often you could put stuff out. That's the most important part. What amount you put out should also be determined by what amount you can stay consistently putting out.
Yes.
So I can put out 4 a week. It ain't tough.
Yeah.
I find it easy and I'm happy to commit to that over a long-term period of time.
Right.
For 2 years, between July 2024 and July 2026, I exclusively posted twice a week. I did that for 2 full years in a row before I kicked it up to 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Just out of the desire for my 2-year YouTube anniversary to give more and try to make more too. So long story short, whatever amount you need to treat it like a TV show. You know, like you'd be pretty pissed if you were hooked on a good show.
Yeah, and it's
out of nowhere, you're just like, where the fuck's the new episode?
Yep.
You know, and like you lose viewership because of that, and people distrust you. And then also the algorithm will stop distributing you at a higher rate
Yeah.
as a result of your inconsistency.
Got it.
So whatever amount you can be consistent with is the real answer.
And quality on YouTube, does it like, do I need to get one of
It
these?
depends. I mean,
What do you
I want to
think?
be very fair in telling you, like, I mean, for everybody who obviously can't see what we're actually
Yeah,
filming on,
right.
there's 3 different DSLRs behind the scenes that capture the wide range, that capture me, and that capture Colin by
Yeah.
himself, and then we have a key light as well. When I first started, for about the first year and a half of me shooting content, I had an iPad I'd write on, that I'd screen record on. I'd have an iPad that I would film on because it shot 4K 60 frames a second. I could have bought another iPhone and just shot it on another iPhone, by the way, which arguably probably would have been smarter.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see it afterwards and make sure that I didn't fuck anything up. You know,
Yeah.
I liked the idea it was an iPad. So I had a tripod, 2 iPads, and these Rode mics. That was what I did for a year and a half.
And you did the two iPads, so you had different angles?
I just had one iPad I draw on and one iPad that
Oh,
I would
got it.
film on. So
Got
it was
it.
just one angle. And that was it. And again, it's just the messaging. The messaging is what people find valuable. As time passes, you'll naturally make more money off your content. And as a result of that, you'll naturally be able to justify like a larger reinvestment into your infrastructure behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you. I mean, I've seen videos that are just raw dog
Yeah.
from a,
Yeah.
from a person who's had, like as an example, if I stopped doing higher production videos like this one as an example, which really ain't even that high production. You know,
Yeah.
it's just, we got nicer cameras.
Yeah,
and
nicer camera and
iPads.
good lighting.
That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
It's like if I did one random like raw video, like unedited, it'd probably rip.
Yeah.
It'd probably do really well.
Yeah.
And here's the point of what I'm trying to articulate to you. Like, it's honestly not something that people judge as much as you'd think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate it. Like, even though I shoot like this now, bro, if I'm at a hotel and it's a Tuesday or a Thursday and I'm supposed to film on
You're
that day,
filming
it's
on
like,
that day.
I don't give a shit if I just pull out my iPhone and film on that with no mic. It's like, I'm filming.
Got it.
So it's, again, it's about the consistency. Whatever you can habitualize is the
Yeah.
right answer. Does that
Yeah,
make
that's
sense?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why like right now I'm doing like one post a day consistently.
Yeah.
Story is very easy for me because I'm just like I'll post a story here and blah blah blah. The stories are very easy for me to post. But like an actual post, I'm doing like 1 post a day because I can commit to that. I can go film once a week. I'm sitting on a decent like surplus of content right now, which is why I waited a little bit. I wanted to make sure I didn't have to film every week.
Yeah.
Now I'm just filming in addition to the surplus,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah.
So I can do that, and like right now, if I got busy for 2 or 3 weeks, I would have enough content to last me. But again, like you said, don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't go film at the studio doesn't mean I can't just do this.
Only
and
downside of
film.
a surplus, by the way, sometimes you learn some profound shit, and then you're sitting on a surplus of old lessons executed.
Damn,
And
that's
then
a
you're
good
gonna
point.
be like, damn, like
Yeah.
I feel like kind of wasted. Like I've had that a few times.
Yeah,
I'm pretty close to real time on YouTube now. I've had at most like I'm like 4 to 6 weeks ahead,
yeah,
and I pulled it back to where I'm at least 1 to 2 weeks ahead.
yeah,
Because I don't learn like that much profound. I'm not exposed to some lesson that makes me say like, damn, like I just wasted all that effort for 1
Yeah.
to 2 weeks worth of content. But when I was like 4 to 6 weeks ahead, it felt like there would be some kind of like key event I could have otherwise talked about, or something like real
Yeah.
time that would have been beneficial to
Yes.
discuss, that I'd otherwise lose the opportunity to talk about unless I just like abruptly interfered with my backlog. That makes sense to you?
yeah. Because what'll happen is there's stuff that happens that you want to talk about now.
Yeah.
You don't, and then the shit that you had just either gets pushed back or
Yeah,
you
that
got to
makes
post
sense.
it. Yeah,
There'll
yeah,
be some specific reason where you're like, this would actually make a lot of sense for me to discuss right now.
Yeah.
You just didn't prepare for it in hindsight, you know?
exactly.
Or like I said, like some people, like think about the difference in what you'll walk away from here today with,
Yeah,
where going back home and making content, like you'll have a way better set of hooks, the payoff, your CTAs,
for
like
sure.
but again, like you're not doing anything
Where am I
wrong.
sending people? Like you said, the CTA is
Exactly.
gold, you know, because I wasn't even sure where I had, like I said, I had the idea of the thing. What do you, I guess my last question is how do you ideate? Like, is it something that you've gotten so good at it? Like you're
It's just like what we just did, where I'm just like, all right, so what do my people care about?
Mm,
You know, I want to tell you the most direct way I ideate personally.
yeah,
I talk very frequently to my actual ICP. I talk to my customers. I
Got
talk
it.
to my clients. I openly am intimately involved in what they do.
Yeah.
So I'm very aware of what they specifically want to know, what they need to know. I can also, because I talk to all of them, I can recognize, without them even knowing it, patterns across a lot of them at once. Where all this, I'll give you a great example. One time, I remember I had like 5 different DMs in a day. And then over the next 3 days, there was like 2 different group messages. And then on top of that, I saw people DMing me about it. It was like a CPM spike on Meta. And they don't individually realize that they're all collectively dealing with it at once. They think that they're
the ones.
individually just getting cooked. And then when I individually look at their problems and help them solve it and like test on them what they need to do or like or just relay what I'm doing that's working, I'll then see what worked and then take it across everybody at once. And then I can make a fraction. YouTube, I fractionalize my knowledge. So it depends. The strategy in terms of what you want to do on your actual channel is dependent on what you're actually going to sell. Like, as an example, Hormozi's strategy, he'll just say whatever the fuck the guy knows in its entirety. And then he's like, if you want help with the implementation or more individualized how-to knowledge, like, come buy my shit. I don't do that. I take 10 to 20% of what I know. So as an example, with that CPM problem, I'd obviously talk about it at length in the paid programs. But in reality, on YouTube, I'm sharing 10 to 20% of what I could otherwise talk about because I want people to buy the information and have a reason to buy the information.
And for it to be valuable, because what if you give them all the information, they buy it, and you're like, well, this is all the shit you just said in the YouTube video. It's not even gatekeeping.
That's how I look at it. My stuff.
But
again, like how you specifically go about doing it, like it's going to change. I pull damn near every idea I've got from literally just talking to my people and seeing patterns. And then also I'll say, all right, there's one guy talked to me about this, but this one guy is an ICP for sure. I'm going to assume that other people are out there dealing with that same problem. Let me talk about this one thing and assume that there's going to be more people that are dealing with it at the same time. I've never been wrong when doing that. So your ideation can also come just like what we've done here today, where I'm like, all right, what do we know for sure that a guy doing 3 to 4 mil a month is actively dealing with? I'll give you some great examples. I deal with it all the time, and people that come to me and learn. They have issues where they've likely scaled the hell, like scaled the brakes off that shit that worked to get them there in the first place. And they might not have put the amount of attention on lifetime value, cross sells, upsells, down sells. They might not have introduced a new funnel type in a long time. They may still have the same team players that they've had that got them to this level, and they don't necessarily even recognize that they are deficient in a specific department and really lacking like a true A player in a specific role. And they don't necessarily say, because they like the person, that this person's holding them back. There's all kinds of different issues. But again, when I just think like, what are they dealing with? I get a bunch of random topic ideas right away. Like I just spitballed. And then I'm like, all right, let's say it's an A player problem. Right? Like, well, what are the problems they deal with related to an A player? It might be the attraction of an A player in the first place. I specifically, in my example, I tell the story that I learned from a 9-figure guy. He introduced staff as stallions, camels, or donkeys.
Dude, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Long story short, I'd tell like that story to a piece of content, right? Or as an example, how to make the hard decision and let go of somebody that's got you here but won't get you there. Right? It's like all of a sudden I have an entire story I can tell inside of a video that could go on for, whatever, 10, 20 minutes realistically.
Is that how long, what type of length?
Honestly, man, depends. I'm a D1 yapper. You seem to be a D1 yapper. I wouldn't doubt that you can really rip for as long as you feel like you need to rip for. There's just a certain threshold where you realize, like, I'll give you a perfect example. You think the people sitting here watching this at this point are like, no, I've gotten the payoff for sure from this video. Right? It's like we've probably gone too far with these specific
bro, this is like, you know what I mean? This is top tier consulting right here.
Think about it. It's like at the same time, it's like, I'm more here for you to help you with this specific plan. So I'm not just thinking about the viewer. If it was like I'm just thinking about the viewer, we would have stopped a long time ago. We would have just been like, all right, that's all you guys need to know. If you want to get more information, go take this action, right? Comparatively, again, it depends on your strategy. Like you can yap for as long as you want to yap about some shit. At certain times, you might only yap for 15 minutes, and that's all that really needs to be said. And anything beyond that, you're just kind of like inefficiently rambling about something. In other instances, it's like a book where the book has an entire premise, and each chapter of the book is selling you on like one perspective of that premise. But the intention of the chapter is to give you like multiple perspectives on the same thing, so you actually leave with the value of that chapter.
It'd be like if you were like buy back your time. It would be segmented into different chapters for how you're doing it.
You wouldn't, and again, like remember, some topics are too broad. Like I wouldn't just say buy back my time. I'd be like a very specific example of where I bought back my time. Like I could tell the story of buying
the Sprinter. I was already thinking about that.
Like, oh, dude, I moved down to South Miami, and all of a sudden I had a 35-minute drive to invariably a 45 minutes, an hour long drive. Now I'm losing an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. It's like, enter the Sprinter van.
Yeah.
Bought back my time. This is how I justified it. This is how much
And you're
dollar value
speaking
growth.
to your, like,
You know
your
what I mean?
audience gets it. I got it.
Remember, like,
wonderfully.
that's all you got to do. And then as soon as that story's done, it's like, that's the end of the video.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
still the
It's a
end.
short, it's a short
Your
video.
intro, like your hook, your whole story that you're gonna sit there and talk about, your payoff, and then a CTA, and that could be told. You could layer in like a few stories on the same topic that just hit it from different angles.
Yep.
You could just tell one key story and be like, I want to be really clear. You're smart enough and self-aware enough for sure that when you make the videos, you're gonna realize it yourself where you're like, that was banging.
I do it now. I was going through some of my talking head content, and there's some nuggets in there. I'm like, bro, I needed this information when I was coming up through this. You know, I already do it.
Yeah, and that's all you got to do. I mean, there's not necessarily like a set length. Like analytically, if I go back and I look at the videos by having AI do an analysis on like which ones drove the most subscribers or like which ones had the most viewership, for me, my pocket is seemingly around like a 40 to 60-minute video.
Yeah.
If I look at the ones that technically did the worst on viewership or subscribers, they're like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna just lengthen a 15-minute video for the sake of lengthening it to 45 minutes. Like you talk about what you need to talk about, and that's the end of it.
As long
I
as
don't
you
judge myself too critically on the views or all that kind of stuff. Does that all make sense?
Bro, great, dude.
Wrap it up like this. Tell the people in terms of this ultimate payoff, what are you gonna go home and actually do as a result of all this information here today?
So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on my CTA strategy because I really like the idea. The second thing is I'm going to start working on my messaging because I have a notepad full of ideas and I'm gonna film a bunch. I'm filming a bunch tomorrow. And I'm going to basically start to think about how I'm going to connect that with my ICP, right? And I'm gonna say three things because anything after that is just like wishful thinking. I told you when we were talking, I was like, I don't like long a bunch of ideas because then I'm gonna tell you, hey, these are all the ideas I have.
Yeah.
The CTA, I want to work on that. I like the idea. I want to work on that with my direct response mind. I want to work on my messaging relative to what the hook's gonna be, what the stories are gonna be, and then I'm probably gonna. The third thing I'm probably gonna do, I'm really gonna consider starting the YouTube, like because everything that I have here on my
Teach you
short
something
form.
real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Try to pick up that bottle.
Pick up the bottle.
Yeah, I said try.
Oh, yeah, right.
Is there such a thing as trying?
No, there isn't. There
Yeah,
isn't.
just go home and fucking
Yeah,
launch
just,
the
yeah,
YouTube
right, yeah,
channel.
yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna launch
it's super
YouTube.
easy.
Yeah.
It's not tough. And you'll find that it's gonna be way easier to commit to YouTube than it is to any other channel. And that channel will feed every other channel, by the way. It'll nurture people the most compared to anything else. And it's also the longest tail game to play.
Okay.
Out of any long-term upside, the most beneficial asset in terms of social media, personal brand assets is YouTube. But most people are very discouraged by how long it truly takes to build up.
Yeah.
So committing to it sooner than later and getting it started is of the utmost.
So I'm starting the YouTube. So my action item, my corporate brain, my action items, my what by when, work on my messaging, get the YouTube channel started, put one video on there at least to start, get the ball rolling with that. So I got my messaging, my CTA. What's the CTA going to be? My biggest concern for the CTA is they're going to opt in and I'm not going to have anything to sell them. So now I got to think of my content strategy for like, hey, how am I going to nurture these people once a week with content? Is it
weekly inner circle group call? You can have an AI agent in the CRM that strategically is there just sending value dense emails to the people that are inside of your newsletter with every time you come out with new content, what the topic was about, sending them a link to go consume it. You just have an agent in there working it all day long.
We'll talk, maybe with you and I will talk about that. So yeah, that'll be our actual consulting, our 30-minute call, because I'll do that. But I'll get you the name. I want to get the name of it. You know, like I said, I'm a direct response guy. So if I'm going to do a newsletter, my first newsletters are like when we did direct mailers. We're about to get those sent out. That's my first direct mail campaign. If you come from the direct response world, like that's kind of like the old school. So we did a lot of work on that. I didn't let some junk go out. Like I was very involved in that project. So if I'm going to do a newsletter, it doesn't have to be big and pretty, but I want it to have a good name. I've got some great stories about naming conventions, and bro, you got my brain all over the place. That's really dope. Yeah, I got my 3 action items, bro.
We're all excited to see what he goes home and does. We'll keep updated on it. Make sure you guys subscribe to his channel. If you're not already, subscribe to our channel. Check out those links down in the description if you haven't done so already. And most importantly, go get richer. Talk soon.